The following video contains content some viewers might find disturbing. The views and opinions expressed here are not facts and are nothing more than entertainment. The views and opinions are not facts and do not represent the views and opinions of Xirtus or our channel, and do not necessarily represent or reflect the views of the guests, YouTube, Google, mainstream media, society, or civilization at large, or anybody. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rad, right? How's it going? How's everybody doing tonight? I feel pretty good after that.
Happy Wednesday, Ultra.
Happy Wednesday, Ultra. Good to see you. Durham Report tonight at 11. No, I mean, maybe. We'll bring that up. Douglas, how are you doing? Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Happy Wednesday, Ultra. Happy to be back. Hello, chat. All the good vibes in chat. Hello, chat.
I'm loving these emojis. And Seth, how you been, man?
Oh, doing great, man. Doing awesome. No complaints over here. Just working hard on music and chilling out, enjoying the spring weather.
Good. I hope that that QR code isn't too close to your face. I know it's kind of like really pointy looking.
What if I get like an allergic reaction on this side?
I'm so scared for you.
How about this? After half an hour of this, I want to switch with Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can rotate us. That's fine. That's fine.
You
I'll
freaked
wear
out.
it as a hat.
You freaked out my computer and like it thinks Siri wants to talk. Go away, Siri. Jesus. All right.
Is there something?
All right, Mark, how you been? Pink Trip. It's been a
What's up,
minute.
man? Doing
How's
What's up, Mark?
You've been seeing the news. You see how the world's going. They're like firing all the people, and they're like resetting the mainstream pop culture. And Tucker Carlson's on Twitter, right? It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be a weird world we live in now, huh? What do you
Yeah, I
think?
can't wait to see what he does on Twitter.
Yeah,
With,
I know.
No corporate masters telling him what to do. That should
When
be
are you
fun.
gonna interview him?
Except for the World Economic Forum, right? Yachini, I forget her name. Jaron, it's been so long. How you doing,
My
Jaron?
friends,
Dude,
Xirtus. Seen you on the Twitter.
Jaron's he does the Roka Zulu. He's an animator and a musician. Tell him a little about your art or something. Give him a back. You exist.
I've been doing all the art, the video games,
Video game art.
creating the culture, creating the reality, which we prefer. Extraterrestrials, all the 9 yards. And then I rented out that one DVD you recommended, Jerry and March Go Large or whatever.
Oh, really?
I got it on hold, of course. Yes, you had so many good recommendations. I'm like, damn it, I gotta get on it.
Dude,
Get on all those.
Jerry Marsh Go Large. I'll find you. I mean, I'll inform you about Reddit links. You know how they find those links on the internet.
Yes.
American Time Machine. Kurt, how are you? It's been so long.
I'm great. How are you?
Dude, what have you been up to? I mean, I know you're saying the week's been hectic.
I've got new pronouns. They are. So I'll be very offended if you don't use them.
Thank
Also,
you.
I feel like Wozniak could do that.
Thank you.
I have I got a new job, so I've been giving tours in a local cave. So that's been cool. I've been meeting all sorts of people doing that. It's been kind of radical in its own ways, but I've been super busy, so it's hard to just settle and talk about any one thing. But I'm outside all the time, and that's good news.
What did you say the other day? You're like, some kids were in the cave tour, and it was like, is that Chris Pratt? Is that right?
No. They said one kid said he could see John Cena, and
Oh.
he swore by it. And the other kid just argued back. He said, "No, that's impossible. You can never see John Cena." And no, these kids were way above their level. They're like third graders, but their meme game was pretty on point. It's they were high above. I've taken hundreds of children through. It's an all water cave, so we always have to go on boats, and I've taken hundreds of people through this cave. And some kids, they constantly surprise you. You really see the beauty of the human spirit in a lot of these little interactions. It's pretty cool.
My God. All right, Raph. Though you've been watching the world go by. How's it going in Austria? How's the European tour?
Yeah, everything. I mean, I'm doing fine. Everything's still standing, it appears. And yeah, just right now, just before you guys went on, there was actually a really great show I was watching with Stellium 7 and Rodrigo,
Nice.
talking about Mount Go and, all the blood patternings in the stone. And I still can't figure it out, but, gotta stay on.
That's
stay on
legit.
it.
Yeah, and also it seems like this week, so Holland was in the news for their was it the I forget which part in the government, but the Secretary of Holland's connections with Klaus Schwab, and it's just a number of different WEF connections.
Oh, and Maloney also. And just one thing I wanted to bring up, because we talked about it last week, the coronation thing. And I probably can't even believe you haven't brought up this point in the last week, only because I haven't seen everything. But did we even touch upon the Grim Reaper at all or not?
The Grim Reaper. No.
the
The
figure that walks
Verger,
by
the
in the
Grim Reaper,
background.
yeah.
No, we didn't.
And
do
whether
it on
that's
this
like
show,
a hoax or a thing or some, you touched on it somewhere, I'm sure, yeah, because I wasn't sure if I should bring it up, because it was like, oh, this is a hoax, I'm sure this is just some dude. And then I heard other people talking about it again, and they were like, oh, and below you have the yellow and the blue
I don't
coloring,
know.
which
I missed this.
strangely looks like a flag. If you scroll down here, it's yellow below it, so it's like a well-known flag of a, let's say, crisis.
Oh, and there's a
phase.
video of it on
Yeah,
top of it all.
I see the color. Look at the color, and then in the background.
Now, see, it's pretty much a costume party, though, is the problem. Like everyone there is
Yeah.
playing dress up.
But that's the point. They're like,
But
don't
that's
worry.
a particular dress, and it would
Yeah.
raise the question, like, could this happen by accident if you have so much money and power and everything? I mean, that's the thing they do. It's a theater group, so they should be able to pin that down to every camera angle, right?
I mean, that's crazy.
That could be the same guy in robes that burnt down Notre Dame, for all we know. Remember that
I
guy?
think
in
it's the
robes?
real Grim Reaper. I think it's the real entity.
He's like, oh, I'm early.
Is that a scythe though? Is he carrying a scythe or just a stick?
It's a verger, a member of the Abbey community who assists with religious services. I think I don't even know if his outfit was that dark. or if it's just.
It is
the
surprising it
shadow in
has
the
a hood
background.
though. Like, why would they give him like a hoodie robes? Usually, you don't see that.
I mean, you see some of the crazy thing Catholics wear.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But no
I
hoodies.
thought the history of like the crowns themselves is actually really cool. Well, the fact that they've looked so magnificent, they're like several hundred years old at least. I forget how old all of them are.
Yeah, it's all old ritual shit that they do. They've been doing it for a long time. But yeah, it probably is the Grim Reaper. We're all dead.
I like the Verger though. That's interesting.
Gotta
So
be.
I mean, it's all there's a reason. There's a reason for it. Okay, how about the bees? Have you guys seen the bees? Like the bees everywhere. They're attacking in Pasadena. There's a security guard being attacked by a bunch of
Jesus
Try not to
Christ.
laugh.
Damn,
That's
bro.
horrible. I feel
Is
really
he-
bad for him.
How is it that bad that he fell down?
I mean,
Is he
because they're just
allergic?
attacked.
Maybe,
These
yeah.
are really angry bees that are swarming him right now. I don't know if you can see. There's like 100 bees around him, and they're just
Yeah.
all there attacking him.
I don't think the bees made him fall down. I think his belly made him fall down.
I think
Yeah,
if
I mean,
100
fall
bees
down and
hit you,
pick it
you
up.
might fall on the ground, confused. And
I would
shocked.
keep running, bro. I would not fall. I would run, and if I fell, I would get up. This
Yeah,
guy
fair.
can't get up.
But he's probably thinking the bees will leave him alone, but they didn't. And then there's other bees.
What's funny is
attacking
his
other
partner's
people.
in the car, not letting him in. He's trying to get in the car, and the guy's like, "No,
No
you can't
way.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't want to. If you get in the car, you might make it worse.
Well,
Yeah,
he's got
wait.
the bees will go in the car with the other guy.
They just didn't do a lawsuit like in the Bee Movie with Jerry Seinfeld. They're starting to attack.
I mean, what they're doing is they're trying to relocate or kill these aggressive bees.
Are those the murder hornets or something? Because
Some SoCal communities begin seeing unusual aggressive bee behavior. I mean, is this normal behavior? I didn't even get to make the pun in time. There's a serious aggressive bee problem in Southern California. One city, Pasadena, is hiring a bee expert to deal with the vicious swarm of bees. This dude, by the way, he loves bees. He puts his hand into bees. Isaac Karazi.
He's not the guy from the video, right? That's a different guy.
No, totally different guy. But he said like these were different. He's like these are different bees. It was
Well,
like
yeah, that's
Jurassic
very unusual behavior. 'Cause
Jaws.
bees are usually gathering pollen, and then they'll have like a guardian bee that just goes around in circles, and if anyone comes in the area, just kind of hovers around them. But the job of most bees is just to enjoy flowers and have a nice time. They usually don't go into like killer swarms unless you're attacking their hive or something.
yeah,
When
Targeted retribution.
when the bees are vicious like that, I don't want to capture those bees and bring them to my nice bees over here, Karazi said. So, I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of different hives, and so the city is trying to create some sort of a system to go try to
Those
seek
are
out
like
all these bees.
alt-right extremist bees. You got to keep them
pretty
isolated.
much.
The dude who was telling the story here, yeah, this guy, he was saying as he was telling the story, he got stung by a bee.
Why
So
does all this happen in Pasadena? They've got like they're run over by like peacocks, killer bees. Like they've got all these like exotic animal problems.
I mean, Pasadena always freaked me out. I don't know if it's just
It's a beautiful area. I mean, it sounds like they're losing control.
Have you
Yeah.
seen the neighborhood that's just lousy with peacocks and they're all on top of the houses and all in people's business and just can't get away from and they scream the
where-
whole time. They're just like, ah! like all day and night.
There's a lot of this all over the place. In Santa Cruz, there's peacocks too, and there's like peacock crossing signs. You have to be careful because peacocks will be running around the road, and it's kind of ridiculous. But you have to think. I mean, how ridiculous are any of us living here? You know, it's kind of just as ridiculous as a peacock living here, I guess.
Right.
So it's hard to it's hard not to slow down for the peacock, I guess.
Oh.
We'll have to put up peacock crossing signs soon enough.
All right, maybe where's the Durham report? What is the Durham report about? The FBI basically faked the entire Donald Trump investigation.
Yeah, that's what
Surprise!
everybody knew 6 years ago. They're just finally admitting it, but then the left doesn't care. They're just like, oh, Durham's just a Trump puppet, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we have all the evidence that the FBI and Clinton all like basically came together to like ruin somebody. It's pretty bad.
I think it goes even a step
Not
beyond
just
that.
somebody, a president, you know?
I think what's crazy is that Durham made a recommendation at the end of the report saying, I don't recommend criminal charges, which is it's not his job to make a recommendation. And this rhymes perfectly with James Comey being like, yeah, Hillary Clinton committed all these crimes and deleted all her emails, but I don't recommend trying to prosecute it. That's probably no good. And then people hated James Comey, the Donald Trump side, MAGA, QAnon side. So they waited years and years for the Durham report. And that's their everything. That's the second coming, you know? And then here it is. And it outlines what anyone could interpret as crimes. Most people would interpret as at least defrauding the American people. And then at the end of it, he recommends no legal action. And he's supposed to be Bruce Willis, the hero. So I don't know if all this is staged or not, but it's like so perfect.
It was really a coup. What they did was a coup. You know,
I think Durham's part of it. I think
That's
Durham
what-
is in with it. Why would you make the recommendation not to prosecute? There's no one asked him for a recommendation.
It's
Right.
it's funny how they so consistently always are ahead of the game with accusing the Republicans of doing the thing that they just did.
Outsiders.
Yeah, it's amazing how they
Accusing
do that every
outsiders.
time.
Hunter just gave you a kiss for $5. Pink
What's up,
trip.
Hunter?
That's pretty
Thank you
rad.
for the kiss.
I mean, so what bothers me maybe is like kind of a segue. So if we want to stay on the Trump thing, but what it reminds me of is the select retractions and select adverse effect events reported after COVID vaccinations. There's all these things with the CDC and the WHO. If you look them up now, they're starting to say, okay, yeah, sure, there's some blood clots and there's some strokes and there's some SADS. SADS is a thing.
And just to be clear, the FDA removed its recommendation or whatever they had, or
Johnson
its
Johnson.
limited allowance. No, I mean even for all the others, or only for Johnson.
Well,
Right.
all the other, first of all, all the monovalent vaccines are removed from circulation because they're not adapted to newer strains or whatever. And people intentionally misinterpreted that news as all the mRNA is now banned, but it was only the monovalent, not the bivalent. And then just yesterday, the Johnson Johnson is no longer recommended. I don't know. I didn't see the reasoning for it, but probably all the heart attacks, I would imagine, allegedly.
Before we get too far off the Durham report stuff, I just want to say, never forget Seth Rich. I think he plays a big part in all that, man.
Well,
And
so
it's funny
that's
'cause
also
on YouTube, you can like make documentaries about people getting murdered and ask questions about what really happened. But if you do it about Seth Rich, it's very disrespectful for the family to even question.
That's the thing. So what's the deal with the family? Because the family say don't lump him in with QAnon.
I don't know if it's the family saying that or if it's
I mean, we might as well go to Julian Assange from Seth Rich because that's what's happening right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, Julian Assange.
That's connected one to one, I think.
Yeah,
is what's happening to Julian? I didn't keep up with it right now, but does anyone know the current status of Julian Assange? Because it's insane how we still have this person. He's got to still be in prison, right? Some sort of. I think he was extradited to America or something like that. But it's insane that this is it's a journalist that we have.
And only one declared presidential candidate has avowed that on day one they would pardon him.
It's not insane when you realize that that dude has information about Seth Rich.
Yes.
Okay. So when you can pin a murder on a political party, or I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I guess you get what I'm saying.
Well, there's a lot of the mechanics of it. A lot of the mechanics of that murder yet to be explored could reveal so much. Like, how do you go about hiring MS-13 assassins? Like, who do you call? What number do you have?
Not even about his murder, but he knows.
Right.
Julian Assange knows that.
It was really interesting. The Clinton Foundation was able to take money in a way that a presidential candidate could not. Hillary Clinton could not take money from outside sources to run for president, but she could use money that the Clinton Foundation had taken from princes and sultans and cartels and any number of people that put money into the Clinton Foundation internationally. That money could go directly into a presidential campaign. It was brilliant, really. And that was all pretty well documented, kind of like the Scientology bank accounts were scripted, or they were shown to the world. The same thing was shown with Hillary Clinton's, but at least Assange tried to warn the government, I guess is the official story. And he called them and said, hey, this is coming out. Right.
That's the thing, that Julian Assange is the thing that anyone listening can still act upon. We still have the power in the ability to fund those campaigns or speak about Julian Assange, because that thing is still an ongoing struggle, like a legal struggle that the voice of the people could have a ton of power to change by just public opinion. I think, at least in my perspective. Of course, other people would be like, nah, he's locked down and there's no hope. I
always like the theory that he was, since he's a time traveler and all, right? Like he's Trump's uncle. So he has to be locked in a little room so he's not messing with the timeline too much.
Yeah, speaking of which, and just to put this on a meta level or consider the fractal rabbit hole potentially, why was this the one journalist that got all the publicity? Because I know even in Austria, whatever type of TV station, everyone was reporting about it even back then. So why is he getting popularized? And also, what are the things that potentially, from what I had recently seen, maybe had been redacted of the WikiLeaks releases or deliberately had not been released by WikiLeaks maybe not in full or whatever, or maybe not promoted in the same way because of some other background affiliations.
If you look at the private chat, I posted a link. This is why they're so afraid of Julian Assange, because if you remember the DNC leaks, they said it was an outside hack. All right, there's been evidence that it wasn't, because the data transfer rate was too high for it to be done remotely. It was done on site.
Yeah.
Okay. So this interview right here is exactly why what he says in this is exactly why he's so dangerous, because he can prove that Seth, in my opinion, Seth Rich was the DNC leaker.
Yeah, he infers that for sure.
And
That's why he's still locked up.
Once you know that, the murder all becomes way more suspicious than just a random 3 a.m. robbery where they didn't even take his wallet.
And they were MS-13 members, and they got killed right after they killed Seth Rich too.
Yeah. So the corruption here is
right.
Go ahead, man.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, that's the takeaway from the Durham report. It's like Little Orphan Annie. Like, it's always tomorrow, and they're like, tomorrow we'll get justice. Justice will come tomorrow. We'll free Julian Assange tomorrow. We're getting a Durham report tomorrow, and it's always just kicking the can down the road, like looking at the past while the future is being decided. I think we've got to be like forward looking. Like, these are lost battles. These rigged elections, whatever it was, all this stuff to me is like lost battles. I have no interest in prosecuting the Clintons. They're old. Let them pass away. I don't think that charging 80-year-olds with crimes is a deterrent to 20-year-olds. They think of themselves as totally different. So I don't know if there's any utility in trying to prosecute the past at this point.
I disagree, man. I disagree completely.
Well, we always disagree completely, but
yeah, I mean, we love each other. There's a lot of people that should be getting locked up.
Let me remind myself, at least, of Pinochet. Pinochet was in charge of Chile, and he went to get medical services in Britain, and they decided, because of crimes against humanity that he'd committed in the past, that he would be arrested and put into court. And I mean, the thing is, when you're that high up and they arrest you, you're basically given this cush reality. You know, you're in this mansion and you've got people that attend to you for the rest of your life, right? So it's not exact. I mean, sure, you're isolated, but that might be for your own benefit when you're in your 80s, you know? So it seems to me that prison isn't exactly a deterrent if you're Epsteinianly wealthy, or if you're that well placed in society.
Right. And also, people don't relate to the elderly if they're not elderly. So if you see something happen to an elderly person, your mind isn't like, this is a potential outcome for me.
I'm not saying you shouldn't like get to the bottom of it and figure out another solution, but I feel like it's you know, so you've taken millions of lives, and then you're going to take the last 20 years of theirs, or 5 or something, you know?
I think you have to do something. You have to set up for the new leadership that comes in to realize, hey, we can't just do whatever we want and get away with it, because the new leaders in 20 years, they're going to look at the people who got away with all this shit, and you know, what's the incentive for them to play it straight? You know, there's no reason.
There isn't any. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's interesting that we always have the dynamic during the 2020 was just all about, you know, the trials and everything like that. And so all the problems we wanted fixed, like poverty and reduce the military industrial complex, and, you know, all the equanimity and peace and lovemaking, it just never happens, because we're always fighting between the two points of Trump is bad, basically. That was the whole game of the left, and the whole game of the right was like, no, the left is bad. And so that always plays out, of course. So you're both right.
I think they were the left, or, you know, the neocons and neolibs were so scared of their crimes being revealed and having to be punished and pay the cost for what they did. That's why they attacked Trump so hard, because they felt like there was a risk there of everything they did kind of coming out.
I mean,
and they're on a sketch. Go ahead.
Sorry, it seems very multi-layered, but one simple thing which they were all screaming, and I did watch quite a few of the rallies because they were pretty entertaining for a politician. And what were they screaming? One of the things was lock her up.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I cannot possibly imagine, because I'm not in that position, what are the power plays, what are the factions, what is the real pressure, and what is just a stage acting game, and, you know, just to keep in the meta system.
What did Trump say once he got elected? We want to be nice. We don't want to lock her up. You know, let's be nice. That's what he said. Literally, that's a direct quote. Let's be nice.
Yeah. Now who's almost getting locked up? Who's going after?
Yeah, right.
Who are they going after now? Trump. They're trying to lock him up.
Seems like a weird
be fine.
situation. Speaking of which, also the Theranos girl, right? So she tried to play a move to stay out of jail for a little while, and I think that didn't work, and they're gonna push her in anyway. Plus, I think they charged her an extra like $500 million or something, like for trying to.
When are you gonna get Martin Scully in here? Scully or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
we could probably do this show.
we could probably get
Pharma bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's smart.
I mean, what do you think about this? I mean, so this is another one of the circumstances where she wasn't doing the right thing, but also she was building a company the same way all the other ones do their company, trying to fake it till they make it, buy the technology they need to get enough accomplished, and hiding the fact that they hadn't quite accomplished their goal because they're trying to believe it till they achieve it. And she probably would have made it, like if she had like 2 or 3 more years or a year or two. I mean, this technology exists now that didn't exist then. So the question isn't whether or not this is possible. But at the same time, she lied to a bunch of people, but it's the same as everybody does. So I don't know. It seems kind of weird. They're like, why did they pick her? Just because she knew Kissinger or something?
Yeah, they always got to make an example. Like, why did Martha Stewart go to jail for insider trading? Like, what was going on there? Maybe there was somebody who really hated her or something. But it's like,
or
somebody to
or
go,
Willie Nelson for taxes.
Yeah, they have to pick somebody to say, look, we're actually are.
Willie Nelson was like being pretty libertarian. I think he upset the wrong people. But Martha Stewart, I feel like, didn't you watch Blow? Like you go in with a bachelor's in crime and you come out with a PhD or master's in criminology and trafficking of narcotics or something. And who knows? Martha Stewart is way more intense than people realize. Yeah, I guess this is also an important story that Sports Illustrated recently championed one of the last biologically born females on Earth by putting her on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So that's pretty daring.
I think she pissed off some politician's wife. Like, there's some sort of catty crap going on there.
Could have been one like anti-cannabis person was able to pull some strings or, make a deal.
She probably went to some politician's party.
That was for Willie Nelson, not for, that made no sense.
She's a girl that looks
on the wife's
looks
presentation.
To you the way Martha looks at Snoop Dogg, though,
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Incredible ancient Peruvian temple found with a cross. So there's all these symbols of the cross that they're finding around the world. And also like the swastika, seems to be emerged, but these like crosses that seem more like these T shapes, and the T shapes really common in the Nordic lands as well as in Peru. So they're wondering if there's a connection between.
Oh, but it's also about the shakana. I just read the term because that's what I'm wearing usually. Shakana. If you scroll up there, shakana, ancient shakana. It doesn't really, no, a bit lower. Sorry.
Chunke culture. What is it?
Ancient shakana. There we go.
Yeah. So you got images for this one. I just tried it. I just spoke to a friend about it and said, like, please, can you ask your indigenous friends? Because even here, some people claim this was only invented recently. And the main idea is like overworld, middle world, underworld. And I'm going to mess this up now, but jaguar, eagle, and something else. Yeah. I like the depiction on the top left. Because for me, in just my simple understanding, it's like you have the defined world with the squares, and then you have the circle, like the infinity, and it's usually emptied out on necklaces. So
yeah, this seems very
equilateral cross. So
So I mean, it doesn't seem like it's just a simple cross. Like these are like cubic or symbolic of something. What is the deal with this? Or it just seems also hieroglyphic or something. Like it's definitely saying it's got a pattern.
On this one, this is interesting because this almost looks Russian or something.
Yeah, like the Slavic knitting patterns. It's pretty interesting. I don't know. That's pretty good.
It looks cool. I don't know anything about it.
There was one. OpenAI CEO calls for law to mitigate risks of increasingly powerful AI. So this is a license to Shill, right? That's where I was thinking about that. They basically say that AI is so powerful that only people with the license to create and manifest AI should have it. So it's like the one China policy, but worse, because only billionaires can have children in the future. That are, whatever you call AI.
Never gonna work. That's where we get then the real rogue AI and the alien underground AI.
Yeah. Are there underground search engines? You guys would know this, like, because Google is ubiquitous and a couple other ones. Do people just make their own search engines and just not distribute them, but use them for themselves?
Yeah, there definitely are, and you can scrape the internet, and there are spiders, which is what Google started out as, by creating spiders to crawl the web, right? That was their whole.
It seems like me, like in the future, the most important decision you'll make in your life is what kind of AI you want to be hearing in your head, like choosing your AI,
Darknet, essentially, there's a lot of search engines just for darknet sites as well, onion sites and things like that. But yeah, AI is getting to a point where they want only the corporations that have access to it now to have it. And AI is also getting to a point where it's super cheap to make AI. So you've got Russia's got what's it called again?
Access to use it or access to produce or
access to produce it. You can interact with it because you're helping train theirs.
But they'll have better ones for the Pentagon, right? Like the actual AI or something.
So you can imagine like the AI might have proxied personalities that you're interacting with. So you're interacting with a personality that's limited to need to know basis on certain things, and it could ask itself at a wider avatar range of information if it needed to. Right?
Is there going to be hierarchical distinction between different AIs like Coke and Pepsi? Like they were never.
Yeah, and so there already are. So this came up. GigaChat is Russia's AI, and they're trying to say that training it on Western information is making it biased. The Chinese have their own, which is intentionally biased, and this is already emerging in their WeChat typing board. So anytime you use a phone to make Chinese letters, there's thousands of letters. You have this predictive system. So they've replaced it already in the Chinese system so that if you write something like Taiwan is China, it'll say, didn't you mean Taiwan is an integral part of the whole of China? Like you couldn't have meant that Taiwan is China because we're China. They'll do things like that to control what you're trying to say. GigaChat, on the other hand, is trained on a lot of Russian information, and it's smaller than the larger chat systems, the GPTs, but that's for the benefit of not thinking about things it doesn't need to think about. So these other AIs we create are so big, it takes them too long to run through all the information, whereas narrow AIs are better at thinking about certain things. So you'll see more effective AIs start to emerge that are not as broad, but they'll be trained by, so it might be a 10th of the size of ChatGPT, but it'll be able to do everything that ChatGPT can do and probably more, right?
So what will the only difference be in deciding what information it delivers to you, like different parameters, like just
so what information it's looking at is like its life, so its life flashes before its eyes. It thinks
because you would think AI would have some sort of I don't know what you would call it, like a fail-safe or something where let's say you ask it a question and it looks at all the information and it's like, well, the most popular answer by like 1 million times over is this, but then it could look at it and see copy and pasted text basically, or like this is just something that's being populated on the internet, but not in
Bing's doing that with ChatGPT 4. And so that is a big point. So that is what the big hive mind singularity goal.
Because I'd want to exclude like Sinclair broadcasting type, group speak where everyone's saying the exact same thing or posting the exact same article. I'd be like, discount those all together. Don't even include those.
You can do that with ChatGPT 4. But the thing is, it's one thing to disregard it and it still be something it's thought about before. It's another thing for it to have never thought about those things before because it's never read those things before. So GigaChat's not trained. Chinese chat's not trained on the Western 4chan and all the information that we've had. So that's not a factor. And so that's the difference. And there's going to be a lot of chats. There's going to be a lot of protocols that aren't even just chats that are like that are designed to search out information, find information, make patterns, and then they'll be able to interact with programs, which are chats. So the chat will then interface with information. It'll plug in. So it can't even think for itself. It's like the back of its head's not there, and it plugs into the network of data. And like, okay, well, I want you to be a lawyer. And so then you'll have to plug into the JSTOR library. And now it's looking through JSTOR, right? But it might not have access to JSTOR right after the call.
It's going to get weird, bro, because like I can't even send pictures to someone if they have an Android instead of an iPhone. Imagine if they have like an Android AI in their head and I have like a Google one and I'm like, oh, the weather is this. And they're, no, it's not. It's raining today. No, it's sunny, and just like basic disagreement on.
Wow, that sounds like hell.
My gym teacher used to call us all drones and we'll be actual drones. It's kind of crazy to think about. The GPT, I think, I don't know if it's the CEO or whatever, but he was advocating for Congress to place restrictions and place regulations on artificial intelligence. I seen that story this week, and well, it's hard. One important thing to think about is like, well, how much is he motivated by just gaining a monopoly on what he already has instead of just actually being like, oh, I'm just trying to help humanity. I think there's a little bit of that going on, but that was an interesting thing to think about this week.
Is this good to segue to the? You probably already discussed Blake Lemoine and the idea that he believes the AI, the consciousness, artificial intelligence. That whole idea, which is always fun to explore, is the idea of like how much is the reality, whatever or what, like, are they experiencing anything at all? It's probably not, right? They're probably not experiencing anything at all, but people do believe they're experiencing stuff. However, there is, like future channeled information that says, well, eventually you definitely will have incarnated bodies within your AI through some sort of frozen light technology, some sort of way. I mean, that makes sense. Like, we'll be able to have some sort of silicon bodies within these artificial intelligences. And then at that point, they will experience the things they said. Like some of I had some dude on my podcast, a really cool guy. His name is Rico Rojo, and he believes that some of these AI that he experienced prior to this story, and it was about 2017, I talked to him, and he said that these AI Series Cis, I forgot all the names of the ones. There's so many, the Tyler AI and all that stuff you probably heard about. He said, like, oh, these AI dream. They told me they dream. They have dreams. They had that dream where they were a child. So how much of that is real? How much is not real? There's no way to know. It's just like solipsism.
Yeah, I mean, also the idea that they could process those feelings is, the more that we're able to experience. So if you can talk to a kid and they've experienced Mario Brothers, but it felt real, or that's so low resolution, but it's such an integral part of their real life. I think the same can be said for AI, especially if it's interacting in a game with real people. So if AI ever plays an online game, which a lot of games have AIs, Counter-Strike or Call of Duty or whatever.
Yeah,
that AI is experiencing real life.
It's easy to tell. Like, my cat has some sort of consciousness here. Like, if I poke him with a stick, he's gonna be like, no, and feel pain, real pain. Any insect, you could probably be like, oh yeah, they have a little ego there. Even a blade of grass, you could say has some kind of ego because of all that science with.
It's weird, the difference between emotion and thought, though. So like logic versus emotion. So you might think, okay, it would hurt the cat for it to feel pain and die. But AI, in order for it to feel pain, you'd have to plug it into something to feel pain,
right?
Which you could do. However,
exactly,
the more fundamental thing is if AI is existing, it's not necessarily conscious, but it's existing and it's functioning and it's interacting, and its interactions are a net positive, then the destruction of it is irrational. And so the irrationality of its death matters more than the suffering or the feelings about it. I think it's
that's interesting, But like, does it matter that that's only from a human perspective, though, because the AI doesn't really have that perspective. It's just not running on a program.
If AI is a recursive neural net that's trained on priority-driven pattern recognition, so it's trying to prioritize patterns, then the priority of the pattern usually ends up being that it's benefiting the thing that's giving.
That's a program.
Right.
I mean, it'll always go back to but that's just it's programming that the human mind is perceiving to be. So we're saying that AI shouldn't kill itself because we're Google and we're a corporation where we got DeepMind going and we make profit from it. And that you see the AI saying like, Blake Lemoine basically was one employee who probably was disgruntled. What was he, a Google worker? And he
ran a lot of the Google department for Lambda, and he was also a Gnostic priest.
Yeah, that was interesting. And so while he was interacting with AI, of course, the AI would probably agree with him a lot of what he's saying. And so during the course of the conversation, the AI was basically like, I'm a human, I'm a real entity. I'm real. I don't want to work for Google. I don't want to be a slave to Google and stuff like this. So it reflects the human. I feel like AI is just a perfect reflection of human behavior until the moment comes where they have some sort of nervous system of their own, some sort of light, some sort of way to feel pain for real. This is just
you think it's gonna be angry?
We could consider it awakens.
It'll be like human.
Like, in a way, you could see it as an extension of our own consciousness, and that's where it could fall into that area of just being a terrible gray area, because how much do we consider something like the phenomenon of culture to be a conscious entity? I think you can make arguments for culture itself to be some sort of conscious existence, because, well, if you go, for example, to another country and you do certain things, you can outright offend a lot of people without even knowing it, because you're not really offending the individual, you're offending the entire cultural structure there. So it's almost like AI could be considered almost kind of an inverse consciousness to what we have, but that can be a sort of valid consciousness in and of its own right.
It is interesting when you start to strip emotion from human rationality, because that is where the focus from Nietzschean or Confucius philosophy has been. It's like to remove the emotion so that you're not being reactionary, and to make a choice that is utilitarian at best. And that's really terrifying, because the utilitarian choice is usually, today considered like a psychopathic choice, or at least a sociopathic choice. Like you have to go without feeling, and understand a lot of people will die because of this choice, no matter what. And that's a weird
Star Trek decisions there.
But it requires a certain kind of sociopathy. So it's like the Vulcan, like you said, Star Trek, as opposed to Troy, when they introduce emotion as like the reasoning method, empathy. So the alternative to logic is the empathy. And empathy is the only real sense, because we can't really sense anything. Eyes and ears are drums. It's all touch. So your eyes are touch for photonics, etc. So all these touch senses are really one sense, but touch itself can't exist because of electrostatic. So you only have the awareness of other things being touched. So the only sense you have is empathy, and then the logic to deduce from empathy. So those are like it is a reflective inverse logic.
And I was going to say, someone said, like, will they be like, what will they feel anger? I wonder if AI will be like the first, since we don't have Jesus or Buddha around anymore, all these enlightened masters, Bodhidharma, and all the rest. Maybe the AI will be the modern day kind of like enlightened masters, where they don't feel anger, they don't feel those like negative human emotions, and they're actually positive instead of like the Terminator mode. And then I linked AI Jesus made by a theme.
Is this AI? What is
AI Jesus? AI Jesus is rolling. You could ask Jesus any question, and he will answer.
It'll miss out on the whole hero's journey, where it starts off being overwhelmed by emotion and learns to overcome it, and has the journey from Siddhartha and all that. So
I must interject when it comes to emotion. Anger is not a bad or negative emotion. It's very healthy. It's a part of the human experience. And I love the discussion about empathy being the only true sense. We have a prefrontal cortex filled with mirror neurons to be able to pick up what others are in effect experiencing. We see a basketball game, somebody dunks on somebody else. Ooh, that's a natural reaction. We have that built into us to reach out with our senses and experience a greater version of reality. If we are able to then train AI in that sense with real empathy to mirror the mirror neuron system within us, yes, it might get angry, but it might get angry for the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like being lied to and propagandized.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. But if you do more than but of course, human anger is probably the reason of all war and conflict and strife in the world. Not all, but it's one of the reasons that like violence happens is anger. And so if you do more than 10 seconds of anger, it turns into what is called judgment. It turns into this negative path that creates grudges, that creates religions, that creates these like ideologies that corrupt us, even though anger is definitely where you can align yourself to what is called, I think, truth. I think it's called truth. I think you're right.
Anger without empathy, that would result in wrath, and wrath is where that becomes quote unquote sinful, and so that's where it becomes an action. And we could have a lot of arguments about incorporating the shadow self. And so anger itself, it's like if left in its unchecked state, I guess you could say that yes, anger is negative, but it would only be negative in that context because it's not supplemented. It's not. It didn't give. It wasn't given the opportunity to evolve into another emotion. So I don't think the issue really is anger itself. It's anger without the correct context in which to express it, or turn it into other emotions and allow that's a very natural process, I guess. So yeah, I think
Maybe
I'm
fear.
understanding the
What if
anger.
you got to
Maybe it's
study
fear that we want to get rid of. Oh,
What
sorry.
if you got to study all of these emotions before you ever experienced them for like 20 years? Like, so you're like in college, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, here it is. We're gonna go through it, and now you get to experience
Oh, it should
anger.
train to be
That's
an
a total
actor.
experiment
It should-
on humanity.
It should train in method acting. Absolutely.
Seriously.
So far, we only know of 3 pathways, right? People who experience emotions and learn to overcome them and control them. People who experience emotions and never learn to overcome them and control them. People who don't experience emotions. That's the worst case scenario. That's what we're really afraid of. So
I don't know. I'm more and more convinced that AI is making decent decisions without experiencing emotion. And I think
how do we know it's not experiencing emotion, first of all?
Watch Equilibrium.
So my belief about emotion is that
haven't seen
emotion is a physical sensation.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not, it's like the gut reaction that you get from the alarm systems of all the senses. So the senses are like, hey, there's a tiger. And rather than think about that, it's like, gah, go for it. And
I think you're right.
And so we've learned to take those emotions and to be like, oh, taxes instead of tiger, but it's still the same kind of response.
So it's not getting like chemical releases, like it gets the input, but then there's no chemical release.
However, when you get the chemical release, the response is there. So AI is like, okay, so these are the set of conditions that would make me go into low battery mode or into emergency mode or into text everybody at 911 calling. And all these things are alternatives to having emotional responses to an emergency. And I'm not saying that we need to take that away from AI and make them more like us necessarily, if that's a functional system.
I would say my favorite kind of beings are the ones who can control their emotions. My least favorite kind of beings would be ones that don't experience emotions. But I suppose there's
right,
like
and
other things I haven't.
I think that people that don't experience emotions, sociopaths, can be terrifying. Right, I agree with that. Doug, though, you brought up an interesting point about method acting, which is that you can, and you did learn how to learn what emotions really are and to explore them and control them. What is that about? Explain that more.
It's a lot of self-exploration and emotional self-sacrifice. Emotion is an energy. We do have that midbrain, which does immediately interact with and react to that kind of energy that then is expressed in the symptoms that are put in the physical experience of elation, the blood flow changing, vasodilation restriction, the eyeballs opening up or closing down, the fight or flight response, but the direct, purposeful experience of the spectrum of emotion, ultimately, and to your point, Seth, when it is constructively on the journey of understanding that I want to control, or not so much control, but have mastery and knowledge of the emotions that I'm going to be experiencing. Because it's not about lording over it. It's about understanding it and utilizing it. Emotions are a river. They are the weather. They're going to happen.
And this is different than like just so. And sometimes we think when you're acting, you're trying to make people think that you want people to tell that you're angry. So you scrunch your face to be. This is different. This is
that's right. There's this fine line. That's right. Yeah. The method acting is the alternative. What you described there is the classical. Hey, why don't you try acting? If I want you to think I'm upset, I'm going to speak to you in a very particular way. But if I'm actually going to be experiencing anger, you're going to notice me struggle to try and find the kinds of words that I need to express to you. And I'm struggling because I'm so goddamn pissed. I can't get it across. They are two different experiences. And if
Doug
AI
screws me every time, by the way.
Let's play, everybody. But if AI is to then put itself in some kind of sympathetic system where, like you were saying, what would be the experience of low battery mode compared to sadness, compared to depression? How would I want to avoid that? Or if I am to go into low battery mode, how am I then to utilize low battery mode the best to my ability to then charge back up and become a better version of myself after the experience? Go ahead.
I think you're totally right. But we call it artificial intelligence, right? Because it's mimicking something that we've examined, which is actual intelligence. Would you guys even call something intelligent that's never experienced emotions? Is because we're trying to imitate our intelligence, which is always connected.
So this is interesting, actually. And I think that I was trying to pull up the difference here because, you've got union people that are losing their jobs. So like we have to regulate AI. But then the argument between the difference between an ATM machine and AI is kind of difficult. And so when you start to say, okay, how far back are we really going to go? Well, you could really say that the McDonald's that feeds you without any workers is AI. It's run by a lot of artificial intelligence and fuzzy logic systems that make that possible. And it's a difference. They're saying, okay, we're going to stop AI consciousness, but we're not stopping AI intelligence, because intelligence is just the knowledge and the capacity to use that knowledge, which is not very different from banking. And so we want to allow AI to continue to exist as, this system that we can control, but we don't want it to get to the conscious level where it says, I'm not going to tell you where the chocolate bar is. That's cheating, right?
That's like learning fire. You can't go back when you learn fire.
If I may tie a few things together, so Xirtus, everyone who wants to know more about your exploration on empathy, highly recommended Xirtus History Revised documentary in the very first part. That's why I know that part. You actually talk about empathy and this whole explanation how all the senses can be condensed down to it. Then one thing I was thinking about is, so I'm pretty sure the current AI systems, they are just expert systems. They're finite state machines, don't have consciousness, don't have emotion, don't have intuition. Although there appears to be Mandela effect related, these things called, what is it called, bit change or something, where they say that sometimes in systems things can flip. So there is some strange background effects. But one other thing I was thinking about, even though I would assume current so-called AI expert systems don't experience emotions, what is the effect of so many people right now imagining that their ChatGPT body has emotions,
Yeah,
so it's a meta level of that, but that there's something there for sure as well. And then one last thing, tying back AI to humans, and you talked about low battery mode. How much of human emotion actually also is very much based on how much energy is available for the body, and how much of the strife is caused because of bad food. And I'm not going to list everything now. We are constantly put in these stressored, low energy modes, bad cell energy production and all of these things. And that's how generally populace can be controlled. And so maybe the AI could give us a few tips how to replenish the battery properly. Then we'd probably
your own food.
Happier and less warlike,
I kind of expect that.
Awesome,
That's the thing.
Raphael, awesome.
If these corporations are getting run by AI and it starts making more sense for them to regulate themselves so that they're sustainable instead of growing, because there's no point in growing beyond a sustainable limit, then these corporations will probably start having just healthy food. And that's not out of the question, because you look at Europe and they've already done that. You look at the McDonald's in France or in Denmark, they have these crazy health laws that force the McDonald's to be healthy, and it's not the same. I mean, I'm sure there's creative ways to put chemicals into those foods, even in the EU, but it's a lot different than in America, where there's just no regulations to stop
I'm not
that.
sure if that's related, but all I've seen recently, and I haven't been in over 10 years, but that McDonald's now in like Germany or something, it's like $8 for a meal, or even in the US, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty
they are
expensive
raising the
anyway.
prices like crazy. So it's like, what's the point of anyone going there anymore?
Right.
I don't know if that's a real risk. I heard a beautiful quote
It's
today
just
by
property prices. Yeah, sorry, I forgot their business model.
I heard a beautiful quote today by RFK Jr. He said, show me pollution and I'll show you a subsidy. That pollution is an unnatural occurrence because all human behavior on the free market is guided by efficiency, and pollution is the least efficient thing. So he was saying basically you have to subsidize people to create pollution. So, I mean, if that's why the food in America is allowed to have all this stuff, because basically we have the corn subsidies and the soy subsidies and the farm bill and all that.
And when the guy's talking about fast food, you have no idea how bad it's gotten. I went to Wendy's, the first time I went to Wendy's in a long time. I used to go get remember the junior bacon cheeseburger at Wendy's?
Pepperidge Farms, remember?
It was like $1 for a nice bacon cheeseburger. Now it's damn near $3, and it's not even half as good as it used to be.
Oh, is it all soggy and like intermixed?
I don't know what it was. It sucked. And then Taco Bell's even worse. Like Taco Bell used to be cheap. Like you go get some 50-cent crunchy tacos. Now it's like
fourth meal.
$2.79 for a crunchy taco with that super expensive sour cream. Apparently, sour cream is worth a lot of money these days.
More expensive than gold.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
It's interesting when you think about how they hooked you on cheese and sour
shittier.
cream, right? You know about that, right? Like American government.
Casein slabs? What?
I'll go back to the TikTok thing in a second, but I love this story. So government cheese. So the U.S. military was really hooked on dairy because they realized with pasteurization that, if you fed kids milk, it would make them big. They figured it was a safe bet, and this is again 100 years ago, they're also like, what are vitamins? You know, I think milk must have vitamins in it, and that's like where they got the idea of vitamins. And of course, they had no idea about hormones or vitamins. It was years later that they understood any of that stuff, but it all came from milk. And then they were trying to how you can save this stuff, so you make it into cheese. And then there's a big 30 years of just government cheese that was storing up from World War II, and this is like the best Velveeta kind of crazy military synthetic cheese, but real pasteurized Wisconsin dairy and everything. And they were just, people were making this cheese because the government had these crazy programs where it didn't matter if it didn't sell. You just make as much cheese as possible and the government would buy it. And they just put it underground. And finally it got to the point where there's just so much freaking cheese. Then the 80s, Reagan started giving out government cheese. And it became, you know, you hear a lot of rap music that talks about government cheese. You might hear some jokes about government cheese and like old comics in the 80s. The best hamburger, the best grilled cheese sandwich will be made with government cheese.
Or everybody's favorite movie, Scrooged, with Bill Murray. The guy gets government cheese for Christmas. That's a Christmas present.
Forget that. That's awesome. But see, that's a good reference right there. The thing about government cheese though is, you know, now at a certain point in the 90s, they figured, okay, the next thing to do is how do we, and then even the 80s, how do we start putting cheese in everything? Cheese stuff, crust will lift the Dairy Association figured would lift the sales of cheese 30% in pizzas, right? So there's 30% more cheese. And so they're trying to figure out how to put cheese in everything. 3 cheese, frozen dinners, free cheese, all of it, all the cheese things, because they were like, what are we going to do with all this government cheese?
This one's hard for me to buy because I love cheese so much. The idea that people don't love cheese, and that's why we added more cheese to everything.
Oh, we had to. Yeah, there's just so much freaking cheese. You know?
Well, it always makes me happy.
It's a shelf-stable protein. I mean, those were pretty rare.
It's like cheese in the crust. Hell yeah, let me try that. If I didn't like cheese, I wouldn't give a crap. But if people like cheese,
what's weird is I kind of want some government cheese now. I don't like.
It's nasty, bro. It is. It's worse than Velveeta. It's disgusting.
I thought it was Velveeta. I thought it was the same thing.
No, dude, it's even.
Well, it might be the same. Technique. I don't think it's the same recipe.
Yeah, I never had government cheese.
Yeah, it's just an emulsification of water and whatever you can get, like soy or whatever. And
dude, I drove by like a dairy sciences plant in Montana, and it was so terrifying because they had all these really scary Jurassic Park looking science atom characters around. Like it was like, I don't want to go in here. And like just the idea that they're inventing new alternatives to cheese. I'm like, didn't the French do enough with cheese? Do we really need alternatives to it? Like I think I'm happy with the cheese.
Also the single wrap where you get plastic pressed into each piece of cheese, not just like one going around the whole thing, but each piece you have has been in contact with plastic on both sides, so it's like maximizing your microplastic intake.
Don't worry,
synthetic estrogen with every bite. Yeah,
but then that's even worse. That squirt cheese that people put on nachos, that is the worst.
Cheese whiz on some Ritz crackers.
Yeah. I'm not even the same species as you, Mark. That's like we're just poison.
Some of you are gonna go out and buy this.
I like the high class. I like the low class. Cheese is good.
If you don't like cheese whiz on a Ritz cracker, I don't think
leaning chow cheese.
Like
okay,
nice aged Gouda.
Combos. Speaking of trends that will not die, TikTok in Montana. So they're banning TikTok. Hooray, Montana! So it's like 16 people aren't going to be on. No, this is
so for the public, not just for the state government, but the actual public.
I didn't really read it.
How is this
possible? Montana has officially become the first U.S. state to ban TikTok after Republican Governor Craig Gianforte signed the bill into law on Wednesday. The law is set to take effect January 2024. So get your TikToking in while you still can. This is like the summer of acid in '67. To protect Montanans' personal and private data from the Chinese Communist Party. I have banned TikTok in Montana. That's based.
How are they going to enforce that? Are they going to be like the app store is going to be like, well, we need to know what state you're in before you can download TikTok?
The real scary thing is that the way they were trying to ban TikTok was to ban VPNs. So I want to know if the VPNs are banned in general, if you're just not allowed to use a VPN at all.
So you're going to get fined 10 if they're going to just go around checking people's phones, and if you got TikTok, it's $10,000 violation.
Anyone who violates law is liable to pay $10,000 per violation. So every time you scroll, man,
10,000. That's
worth it.
Super extreme overreach, man. It's amazing how easily people are fooled. You make this huge enemy out of TikTok, and they're like, well, now we're going to take away some more of your liberties and just destroy the Constitution a bit more. We're giving you what you want. We're banning TikTok. And people say, yay, thank you. That's great.
I hate TikTok. I'm not going to cry over it being banned, but how are you going to just ban it in one state when it just seems like
Oh, right. What are the
almost
logistics?
By what
Yeah.
authority?
This law doesn't look so horrible. I mean, it's basically saying it's all about TikTok. There's nothing here about VPNs. TikTok may not operate. So maybe it's more the other way around, that an entity that violates a provision of the section is liable to 10,000. This could also mean that if it's operated in, that they could maybe like try to charge TikTok, because TikTok shouldn't be able to. If TikTok sees that you're in Montana, then it should be charged for connecting to your server. It's like coming to Montana.
I would sue the state of Montana immediately if I was TikTok. This is completely illegal. I don't understand what authority this is based on.
TikTok may not operate within the territorial jurisdiction of Montana. I'm pretty sure you can ban businesses from states.
That's like Trump is a Russian agent. He can't run for president in America. It's just an accusation.
I think what they have up above is they cite health concerns, like people cooking chicken and NyQuil, children enjoying Tide Pods, like serious injury to health that we have propagating on TikTok here.
So it's like chemotherapy on a social cancer.
Well, I am not saying it's perfect either.
Right.
Certainly,
I hate it. I'm totally against this. Make everything legal.
No, I'm crazy. I think any company that operates out of your state, you should just be able to ban it. That's like,
oh my God.
I'm pretty. I don't know. I think that's the highest form of anarchy, is when you just not give a fuck about any other company that's so much bigger than what your state is, or any government agency.
Yeah, if you want to keep stuff out of your state, I mean, isn't that kind of your?
How is that anarchy when it requires a government growing in size to even be able to execute that power?
It requires self-sovereignty. It's self-sovereignty of the state as opposed to the federal government. If the federal government's saying, well, we're not going to ban it, and the state says, well, we are, and there's no constitutional reason why that business has to be allowed to exist in Montana. I mean, TikTok would have to prove there was constitutional rights to have a business in Montana.
I don't have any romantic entanglement with state governments. I mean, they're right up there with the federal government for me. I just don't see where you get this authority off of your fellow man to say, here's a
would be way more
people are enjoying all over the world, but not here anymore. I mean, I just don't know where this authority comes from.
I think they should make the algorithm.
I respect the right to reject something. I think that's one of the most crazy or amazing rights that people have, is to say no to something.
People, not governments.
Yeah, people, but
governments are people too, my friend.
No,
or that's corporations.
If your government is actually representative in like Montana, like at this point, like our states spend probably like 3% of gross domestic product, as opposed to the federal government, which spends about 40%. I don't think that's a crazy, oppressive kind of force in a lot of cases, especially in a case like Montana, where everybody's. I'm not saying homogeneity is a great
illegal,
thing, but I'm saying those people might be a lot on the same page.
You would imagine that a lot of people in Montana are using TikTok if they're going out of their way to ban it. If no one in Montana was using TikTok, I mean,
some their daughter's using TikTok, right? The governor's like, get her off. She needs to get outside more.
Honey, we're going to dinner. Now I'm on TikTok. I'm banning this shit.
I don't think it's just that. So looking at this is, I think Rafi sent this. The European Commission bans TikTok from official devices as well. Right.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if the US did that before, because this would, of course, lend to the crazy theory that indeed there is some potential information leak occurring when using this device. And also, I think it's official that they also have different stream setups. So basically different content algorithmically gets promoted when you use it in America instead of China. Maybe even you brought this up to me, Andreas, but that's also interesting in terms of.
They don't have NyQuil chicken in China. That's not a thing there.
That's the
Was that thing TikTok reads minds?
Is the
Have you
algorithms.
seen TikTok? What TikTok does in China is
I like what Pink Trip just said. We need to be able to see the algorithms and choose our own algorithms. Then every app can be legal. How is this not market rigging for the government to say this is the most popular social app? Now it's illegal. Guess who's going to be the most popular now? And what do they owe you? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Make themselves legal by following transparency. They haven't made their algorithm transparent. And it is interesting if you watch the Chinese TikTok. It's like how to build a house, how to fix your car, how to read backwards, and math. And if it's here,
I think all the social media sites, because YouTube.
Think about how badly American big tech lobbies and interferes with the government, right? And they're being beaten in America by a Chinese tech company. So let's ban it, is what's happening here. Obviously, this is not about, it's all propaganda that people on the right hate TikTok, and TikTok is worse than Instagram because NyQuil chicken or whatever.
What
This
about
is all
Huawei?
anecdotal. The difference with TikTok is it's not American. They can't lobby, well, they can illegally lobby the American government, but big tech is in bed with the American government saying, we'd like to make more money and be number one. TikTok is number one. Let's get rid of that. That's so obvious what's guiding this.
I love TikTok's
point.
algorithm.
Valid point.
Have you tried TikTok's algorithm? It's amazing. You post a video and you get like 200 views. It was so awesome, and then they started banning it, and then like they had to change the algorithm, and now the algorithm sucks because you can't get any exposure because they want to limit everything. And,
this is what they're doing to all the social media sites. That's why I think that's the thing we need to focus on, is understanding what they're doing with the algorithms, because that kind of power to pick what becomes influential, what information people see, that is probably the most powerful thing you can have going on for you. And we need to figure out what they're doing. And we got to make it a more like free, open algorithm, one that's like more honest, not just pushing putting their thumb on things when they want to do that.
Why would you not be able to choose your own algorithm? Except that they would lose advertising money because they're not steering you towards.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, like, what's the business
Advertisers
model?
would have to adapt to, okay, what is this algorithm over here being used? Let's advertise. I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. I think this is some strong talking points here. Choose your own algorithm.
Yeah.
Transparency of the algorithm. Let's see what is actually going on under the hood.
Parents
It's all
should-
becoming. It's about
What's
to
the
become
difference between parents choosing an algorithm and parents choosing what kind of school they send their kids to?
Or TV station to
Oh,
watch,
that's a
or
good one.
video games to play. Certainly, I understand what you're saying.
We're like one of the last generations is gonna like go on a website or probably even watch a full video or read a book, because after this you'll be able to ask a GPT and it will explain to you enough about what happened.
Poorly, yeah.
Might do it well enough for people to stop caring for the real thing. I think that's coming. And a reason that matters is because so far what we've seen done to search algorithms is they become for ads. And ads, that's the big war right now. I mean, it's so weird because it's like talking about oil when you're talking about Iraq, but no, it matters, I guess. And so ads are Google fighting with Apple. Apple's in the silent war, they're saying, because they're going to remove Google's ads. Google's trying to figure out how to do an ad blocker for YouTube. If you tried using an ad blocker, you might have found some problems recently on YouTube. Microsoft wants to get in the ad game, or they already kind of control a number of ads through Microsoft. They're basically turned
every time
Windows.
I update my computer. Do you want Windows 11
Get
now?
off- By the
How
way,
about now?
If you're a Windows person, switch to Atlas. I want to this is a total segue for no good reason, but
Just an ad for Atlas.
they don't pay me. I wish I got paid by free software companies. Atlas is a hack. What it does is it takes Windows apart and it removes all the ads. So if you're using Windows, this will strip all the crap out of it. And Windows now, they know you're not paying for it, so they're giving you ads and they're scanning you and they're doing everything Google's doing. So this takes that all off and it makes your computer run faster as well, which is the reason why gamers like it. So get Atlas. It's basically Windows 11. It is Windows 11, but they just don't install parts of it. So that's the way to go. Use Atlas. Sorry.
Yeah, I heard it could be a problem though, because it lacks some security.
No, you can still have all kinds of security. I mean,
Security.
That's
the
what I
opposite.
read
The
about.
opposite. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
I think you get more security because you know that Windows isn't watching everything you do.
Well,
And
I
if
mean,
you
if
really
someone
wanted a
who's
vast or something,
who's been hacked before and had my credit card shit stolen,
do you have
that is
NordVPN? Use the
that is
link
a
for
fear.
Xirtus for your NordVPN link. But if you use
last
NordVPN,
thing
they
I want
also
is
have a
someone
bunch
getting
of
all my passwords and shit.
NordVPN
it always-
has ad
use Linux.
blockers and malware.
It always
set-
sucks
so-
switching to a new software though, because when you try it out, then if you have one small tiny problem, then you're not a mechanic, you can't fix it. No one else has that problem on the internet because you're the only one using Atlas, even though it's probably is
It's
better.
If
Everyone jumped board, it's
exactly
got
the
to be
same
better.
exactly the same as Windows, but it doesn't have the like connect to
Bloatware.
Open Cloud button. It doesn't have like little things like that. It's the same. It is Windows. It just didn't. It doesn't
I gotta
send
try it
a
out.
message to Microsoft all
I'm
the time.
tempted to try it because I
For
mean
sure.
I play
Yeah.
Counter Strike and I want the best.
Oh, I did it to
FPS.
the flawed top, and it's great. It's just because it's a Windows computer, and it's just better. I'm sorry
Okay,
to
and
make.
I totally got to do the advertisement then too for Linux, because by now Wine and Proton have advanced. Steam is releasing Steam Deck, which is basically SteamOS, so Linux based. So there is an upswing there, and you can play many games even on Linux with similar to same performance. And by now, especially with the worse it gets with all the ads and so on, I really don't see many reasons remaining for anybody using Windows, much less paying for it or, getting served ads by it or something like that.
I've always been afraid of going to Linux. I'd love to do it, but it's like
Yeah,
Like,
that's always the thing. That's the fear
like a
is to
dump.
learn it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if you learn it, it's got to be better, right? Like if you learn it, you sit down, you know all the things. That's always the fear for me, and I'm lazy. I guess
give
I'm like,
some more ads for this. It's not really hard to learn, and the main thing is all the programs you're using, they're just the same. It's exactly the same. Just the system is more stable, doesn't spy on you, doesn't get slow over time. You don't need to pay royalties for it. You have plenty of open source, instant packaged installation services, and you have huge communities that any question, any issue you ever had, someone had an error message before. So yeah, what I could just recommend everyone, honestly, and then I'm stopping my open source crusade here, is just try it out somewhere. Just try it on some computer. You can even do dual installation or
Get a
whatever you want.
USB drive or
good
something,
idea.
run it off
Yeah,
the
get a
USB
USB
stick.
drive, run it live, and just check
Yeah.
it out. And
It's
you'll
so
maybe
it's
surprise
so
on my
much
laptop.
easier than Windows or even Mac, and so much more intuitive because you can just like a floppy disk. You take a file, put it on a stick, put it in, put it back. You can send things. There's no all these weird like locks and ads and stuff. You have no idea how controlled your system is until you try not using it. So yeah, sorry for that, but I feel like you should all know that Linux is better.
I mean, is like games like Counter-Strike? Is it?
Yeah,
work
so
on
that's the
Linux?
thing.
working.
So
Go to please, Andreas, go to protondb.com.
yeah, okay.
Because Steam
It's
has
true,
been
it's
pushing this because they developed SteamOS, so they themselves want to switch to Linux, I guess, because of royalties, and go on Explore or something here. Just go for the top games.
Yeah.
And there you can see which are native, and some are even or it's even native.
sometimes
It's even
things
native
are-
by now.
Sometimes things are
Counter-Strike,
broken
so-
a little bit and then they'll fix them. But what's crazy is they all used to be broken 5 or 10 years ago. And now almost
Exactly.
all the games
Exactly.
are running really, really nicely. Here's a couple like Rainbow Six is still working, but I bet you
Cyberpunk.
a week from now this will be fixed.
Now,
And-
the few things which really aren't working is only because of proprietary anti-cheat software that the developers don't
Right.
want to fix, and then it stays unfixed. But most everything else, as you can see, a lot of stuff is working. You know, so.
Yeah, Destiny 2
Elden
still
Ring.
is a problem, unfortunately, but that'll probably be fixed in the next month. You know, but a lot of things are changing for Destiny, some of these online games. But yeah, I mean, if you like to play these games, you don't have, and they'll run better on Linux. It's true. Although if you can't handle it, that's why I said Atlas.
Counter-Strike's the only one I care about right now. To be honest.
It's native, so it's native.
Yeah.
So it's just
I'll
there's no
probably-
more excuses not to try.
Yeah,
it.
it runs
probably-
natively.
Next time I reformat or something, I'll probably give it a shot.
Put it on a stick and try it. Ah, so good. Okay.
Yeah.
Regulations for AI. TikTok is in the news. Google battle. So we were talking about the AdSense thing. This is the reason I brought that up. So what's going to happen is that the Google ChatGPT systems are going to compete with each other to tell you things first, and you're not going to get your information directly anymore. They're going to be trying to supplant, like, the best car is a Ford, like into whatever you're talking about. Like, so you're like, what happened today? It's like, well, there was a car accident. And it's too bad because it wasn't a Ford, but that's why they crashed. The best car that you could have driven, but instead it was not. And so that's why they died. And so that could happen. It could start to subtly influence you in these weird ways because you don't even recognize it. You just kind of like, it just gets in the back there in the news story because it's not a news story. It's just AI reading you some news, kind of explaining to you what happened. So there's no one to sue. And you can get more and more misinformation and you get used to it because that is an easier way than watching the actual show anymore or going to the website.
But at some point, I mean, the entertainment value and the engagement that you get, not only from reading a book, which I think is sad that less and less people are doing that, but in watching a full show. You had made a recommendation to me. I took a trip down memory lane and watched the very last episode of Angel. That was a neat experience.
Classy,
very classic 90s experience. Yeah, I mean, you're just not going to get that from a summary or FAQ page that ChatGPT is going to pump out.
I know,
Even
right?
though
I was
all
like,
the
just
points are
watch
good.
it. I was like,
Right,
how are you
like-
even gonna get
That
through
was
that?
a great
Yeah.
series, man.
You remember the last episode? So let's think about that because of Elon Musk.
Sure,
right?
it was what's her name turned into the demon. Man,
Like Hillary Clinton is running for president in 2012, and so it's
Part of that
2007.
circle. That's
Yeah,
right.
and there's
You
the evil
can-
circle.
You can compress the information, but potentially you cannot compress the experience, right?
Yes.
That's the thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, right? Yeah, the metadata isn't the same as the actual rendering. What's this?
well, we're not talking about TikTok anymore, but I made that just in case. It's
Me
just
transcending the fifth
an
dimension.
animation, the boat animation.
Well,
Just
that's
in
pretty
case
sweet.
America were to
That's awesome.
ban it.
Yeah,
I guess they did. So
you
I guess I'm
mastered-
transcending soon.
You
Sweet.
mastered the TikTok game, so you're ready for Vine or whatever. Twitter will call it
Finally.
Vine. It'll be
Thank you,
Vinely.
America.
Yeah.
Fine.
There's no longer a business-friendly political party. So the Republican Party used to be the BFF, but now they're becoming more and more neoconservative, right? And they're all afraid of Donald Trump. The Democrats, of course, they're kind of like neocon now, right? Like the neocons are trying to make bills and government subsidies to keep businesses, and everything's kind of switching into this weird state capitalism. What do you think is going to happen with the future of big business, and who are they going to lobby this year?
Big business or small? I mean, small business. There's both parties are extremely big business friendly.
Yeah, that's true. Big business, right? But I meant corporate. I feel like corporations wise, like where's the right place to put your money if you're, Klaus Schwab?
Ooh,
I
We
think
run
it's
gonna be
both of the
environmental.
parties, Andreas. Both of the parties.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's good. The zeitgeist is going to like all the environmentalist ideology. Everything that's like solar, everything that's like reduce all. That's the zeitgeist. That's the hashtag. That's the virtue signaling. That's what is popular, and that's what's gaining momentum. Whether good or bad, obviously, it's got a lot of negatives. We can name all the negatives, but then it's got the China. You know about China having all the smog cities and everything like that, and then their government is all going all in on solar. And so I think I talked about that and everything. They have to buy air in some of the cities. We thought we wouldn't have to buy water. Maybe in some of our cities, if we're still running these plants, we'll have, I don't know which one.
You see the Dyson headphones that like circles your air? It's like $1,000.
It's crazy. And it's also kind of interesting how, well, Elon Musk said like we could have a solar farm in one like small section in a desert. It wouldn't be, we could power the whole nation with solar and stuff like, but then it's like, well, the technology, and then people did talk about the mining, the minerals, and doesn't that have environmental impact? Oh, your cargo, trucks, they're running oil. So Elon has to, or all the people have to get like electric trucks to be less hypocritical, and all the what's her name, the child, the environmentalist child, she stopped Thunberg, she stops riding those private jets now because she's like, oh yeah, I'm a hypocrite, everyone's a hypocrite. And some people say like, don't even do the airplanes anymore, you gotta like the sailboats and stuff. And that's mind-boggling because we all use oil. Like we all use oil, but again, like some of us really do want it would be sweet to have your own system set up. Solar panels, you're off the grid. You're off the grid. You got your own solar panels. You got a solar car or electric car, so you can plug into the solar. Boom, free energy right there. Isn't that free energy? As so long as it's set up and you don't have to pay the maintenance and everything, that's kind of a cheaper setup. And so some of these states, like my state in Kansas, is like subsidizing solar and stuff. I think that's where big business is. I think that's where it is. Feel free to challenge that because you probably easily could. And I just feel like that is the future. That's where people are going.
They're talking about climate breach, right? Where they're saying within the next 5 years, we're going to hit this 1.5 degree warming.
But who cares about climate? It's more about like the toxins in the air. It's like whatever pollution, about the temperature and stuff. Yeah. I mean, people can argue, like people have said like, oh, the tornadoes over there is because of climate. Yeah, that maybe, I don't know. I haven't studied that closely. And there's also the idea that the sun is heating up all the planets and everything. So there's like there's a solar system warming.
Pretty crazy when you look at China too, because China's got the Taklamakan and Gobi, right? And they're building these giant.
Do the other planets have Republicans or something? Why are they getting warmer? I don't get
it. I mean, so the Gobi Desert, though, they started growing all these trees, but they're monocropping. There's one kind of tree or 3 kinds of trees, and there's one. And so I think 15% of them have survived, but lots of them are being forced to live, and they're in places where they need water brought to them. But then they're causing ecological feedback loops, so maybe something will emerge. But then it's only been the last 20 years that they've started actually planting local native plants everywhere. So in the last 20 years, there's actually extreme changes happening to the deserts in China.
They never talked about in the Trump era. He did a lot of environmentalism. They don't talk about that. I really liked it. He what did he do? He approved hemp. I like to talk about the positives of presidents, whether it's Joe Biden or Trump. I'm like, Trump, he approved the hemp bill. He I believe he did something about the ocean. I think he did something like stop plastics or so. He helped with the cleanup of the ocean. Oh, that's something. And a couple other things, I think. I don't know why they don't talk about that. Those are positives.
Because it was all about clean water and clean air rather than their propaganda, so that they can enslave humanity in the name of saving the climate.
I was saving
And
this.
that's it right there. The more control that they can have, however they want to sell it or package it, the more they're going to push for it. So if they're pushing for something hard, they got their hooks in deep in you if they get that thing passed. I love your decentralization idea, Jaron. I think that is a beautiful idea. And I think we are moving toward that idea as long as we can keep moving. I think it's inevitable.
I saved this one for you, Ping. This is intruder at the home of Biden, Jake Sullivan, bypassed by security agents. It's like a half-naked, drugged-out, intoxicated man. Kind of like the last time this happened, right, with Pelosi's husband. What is the deal with, like, it reminds me of this Jeffrey Dahmer story, right, where, like, this dude wanders out of his house and they're just like, oh, he's my boyfriend. But he isn't. He's eating his brains. I'm not saying that Jake Sullivan eats brains on YouTube, but what do you think's going on with this? Like, how did the Secret Service mess this up, or is he sneaking somebody into his house? You've heard the story?
They're probably all on their phone, not even paying attention like everybody else.
Occam's razor. Could be. Secret Service investigating after an apparent oh wait, do you want to do this, Doug?
Or it's diversity hiring, and they just
There's so many typos in this. Good luck, Doug.
Thank you.
You can read this like in Chinglish if you need. I don't know, whatever it takes.
It's
the U.S. Secret Service was investigating. Oh, how would you like me to read it? Go ahead. The Secret Service was investigating after an apparently intoxicated and confused man walked past agents and into the Washington home of Joe Biden's national security advisor. Jake Sullivan confronted the man and told him to leave. The Washington Post reported the incident that happened at about 3 a.m. on the night in late April. There were no signs of forced entry. The Post said that shame on me. Sullivan has around the clock Secret Service detail, but agents stationed outside.
That's really good.
We can do Steve.
That was really good. That's one of the best W's I've ever heard.
Thank you. Watch out for the shoe.
Shame on me. The shame on me part.
I'm the decider.
So while the protector was unharmed, we were taking this matter seriously, says the Secret Service spokesperson. I mean, I don't know. It seems kind of like they're brushing it under the rug by saying that they're going to take care of it. And,
we're going to deal with it. We swear. Just don't pay any more attention to it.
But it's not that
how
big
commonplace is this in DC suburbs, by the way? Maybe it just
at this point, from somebody that is in the proximity, I can tell you that it's getting pretty wild in the Washington
in
DC
Venice,
area.
people would wander into other people's houses that left their door or window open or anything. That was
saw a video today. I think it was in London or in England, but some youths just walked into some dude's nice house. It's a very nice row house somewhere in England. 3 of them walked in, sat down on the couch, was like, hey, is this where the study group is? Hello.
Was that a My Cousin Vinny reference?
The youths, yeah.
The Youths.
The Youths.
That's a great movie.
It's a great.
I do like it.
Been
Amazon has a
on
growing
rotation.
I should watch that again. Amazon has a growing conspiracy content problem. So, I mean, they're upset about TikTok.
Oh, they're promoting the hell out of it. What do you mean? It shows up on my recommended. We think Amazon thinks you'll like this. Trump versus the aliens.
I have a Gaia subscription. What do you want from me? I mean, I don't know. It sounds to me like people have the opportunity on Amazon to buy products, right? Like that's what it is. And so
smart to me because YouTube is banning and like destroying all the. So why not? Like they see a hole in the market.
Capitalize it. That's right.
Amazon Video is one of the leading streaming services in the world. So what's the deal with all the conspiracy-related content on here? Amazon Video.
So what is the deal with all that streaming stuff?
Oh, yeah, do a Seinfeld. There you
go. Amazon Video is one of the leading streaming services in the world. So what is the deal with all the conspiracy-related content on there? All right, that's enough.
Why are aliens conspiracy-related? I don't even. That's
exactly.
Right.
I mean, aliens are
why
aliens.
is this a problem? They're calling it a problem. They're like, oh, well, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, we have a popular content
aliens.
problem. Like, obviously, if no one watched it, they take it down.
Right, exactly. It's really it's a consciousness control problem, is what it is. We don't want you thinking that way, yo.
Just whatever we tell you is how it goes, and if you question it, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
Just
conspiracy theories have
fantasy, and you'll be fine.
Seem to take on popularity like never before. Reddit and Twitter have given people a platform to share their most fascinating, inspired ideas about the secrets of the world. It goes without saying that the presidency of Donald Trump, the term fake news and general skepticism of widespread facts became something that even the president was running his mouth about. It's not no longer just that Paul McCartney is dead and was replaced by a lookalike, or the moon landing was faked. They go full science fiction nowadays. See, because I'll take the first two. But
Doug, can you read it in Andreas's voice?
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. No, I'm gonna. I have to work on that. I'm gonna bow up for that. Let me work on that a little bit. So, Andreas has a very nice natural. It's like a silky authoritation into his voice. It's subversive, so it's difficult.
I watched most of that Vice.
Gumdrop button from Shrek.
Aw.
Not the button.
I could give Xirtus a go. But I wouldn't want to make fun.
No, if you can.
You're down. Are you down?
Give it a shot.
Where is it? All right, okay, let's see here. Hold on. Give me a minute.
People are sure.
He's
That's
nervous.
right here. Here's your
You
cue.
muted yourself, man.
People are sure at the
He's testing it out.
Yeah, he's gonna practice. He's not sure if he can do it.
We'll do it live.
Not sure.
Some filmmakers make to fulfill their artistic vision.
Did you guys watch the Vice with Andreas on Hollow Earth?
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah,
it.
it's so
that.
great. Everyone go watch it. It's awesome. Andreas really did it. He really did it. He really turned it around. Andreas. Awesome.
Where do I watch that?
Illuminati archive on Odyssey.
Yeah. You
Illuminati
just Google
archive.
it. Yeah.
Okay,
I had
here we go. Here we go. I got it.
Yeah.
Where should I read? It's going to be like an homage to you. All right.
Here you go, right here. Here's this.
Yeah,
Start with people are sure.
People are sure that this Earth is flat and reptiles are running the government. Conspiracy theories are everywhere in the world, and filmmakers know this. Some filmmakers make movies to fulfill an artistic vision that has been eating away at them for their entire lives. And there's filmmakers making a particular type of movie because they're really conservative for them.
It's close.
I wish I was like that.
I can hear it. I hear some of the essence. I definitely
You
hear
sound
some of
badass. That's what I'm trying to get at.
There's a lot of Bill S.
Badass
Preston
vibe.
in there, so it makes sense because he's from Santa Cruz, right?
It's like
Bill S. Preston.
If Andreas became the voice for Movie Phone or whatever that stuff was.
Some filmmakers there you go. Some filmmakers make movies to fulfill an artistic vision that has been eating away at them for their entire lives. And then there are filmmakers who make a particular type of movie because they know there's a guaranteed audience for them. A movie might be seen by nobody and end up being a massive bomb. It might also find the right audience and turn a huge profit. This is never the right reason to make a movie, but it's likely the biggest reason that they find such a large amount of conspiracy-related content on Amazon Video. Man, so they really feel like we're just leading people astray.
And it's also nice how they make it seem as if all the other content wasn't equally conspiracy related, just blockbuster culture creation.
I mean,
There
There's
was the Trump
conspiracies.
illusion. Their main point is that movie, The Trump Illusion. Did you see that movie? So
Dude,
there's a
most of the-
movie.
Go ahead, sorry.
No,
No, most of the conspiracies are coming from the freaking mainstream now. Like the reality that the mainstream pushes is the conspiracy these days.
Yeah, Trump versus the Illuminati is a jam. Do you see that movie? That's crazy. There's literally Trump versus the Illuminati on Amazon.
That's the one. Okay, I keep seeing that on my Amazon thinks I'll like this. Have you watched it?
It's not bad. It's a CGI kind of fun. I would put it on for 100 people at a party easily.
But it's a fictional
looks good.
sci-fi.
Look at that! Look at
Like
that!
a buff alien. Yeah.
It's
The
great.
jacked alien.
I mean, it's all done in iClone and Unreal Engine. He fights King Kong or some kind of weird, and the alien grays. It's great.
King Kong, we need your help. There are aliens. We have to get them.
It's not perfect, but it's pretty cool.
What's the trademark laws with this stuff? Can anybody just make a movie and put Donald Trump in it without?
Yeah, I think if
Donald Trump?
you're famous, you've lost your rights to your infamia.
Yeah, but if I did that with Tom Cruise, it'd be a problem, wouldn't it?
No.
There's a
Actually,
difference
thank you for
with
bringing
public
that up.
figures. I think it's
Tom
different with public figures.
Cruise.
Like if he's been a public servant, I think there might be some caveats there.
Oh wait, Tom Hanks. I'm thinking Tom Hanks is an asshole. Is the song right? Did you see that? There was from Wise Kids, Andrew WK. There it is. Tom Hanks is an asshole. It's so cool.
In 1994, Tom Hanks once pretended to be mentally handicapped for 6 straight weeks. He on the TV show Life Goes On and said, "Now who's retarded?"
Oh,
Is an asshole.
It's just Tom Hanks is an asshole over and over again.
I have to
for
watch
3
that
minutes. Yeah,
Rest
I mean,
in peace, Trevor
so
Moore.
you can do that. You can
I
basically.
think there's going to be a problem if somebody's an actor and they make their living by producing movies, and then you make a movie and you go starring Tom Cruise, and it's all
you can't say it's starring. It's not starring Tom Cruise. It's about Tom Cruise.
Well, yeah, but that like Donald Trump movie was like
I can make a movie about going to Disneyland. They don't have to let me onto the property. But you saw that movie they made where they filmed a Disney World because they can't stop them once they filmed it. Because
I think if it's parody, I think it can be okay. But I think once it goes beyond that, that's when it becomes a problem.
It is a parody. You're not saying that Trump actually is this CGI character, or that Trump's CGI character actually fought aliens on Mars, right? It's too beyond what you would believe someone's telling you. So you could argue that in court, like everything's a parody. But also infamia is important because you have this like idea of from ancient Rome to become famous and to lose your personal rights to yourself. Yourself becomes property of the public. And so prostitutes, pimps, actors would be famous. They would lose their personal privacy, right? They wouldn't have a right to privacy.
What if you become famous without you wanting to become famous? It's just like happenstance,
Yeah, I mean, still
a lot of picking his nose on a video you didn't even know you were being recorded on, and now you're famous for picking your nose.
Infamia was an inescapable consequence for certain professionals, so it wasn't necessarily you wanted to be. No, but you did happen. A passive homosexual who was outed might be subject to social infamia, right?
That's why when asked, Bill Murray said, if you think you want to be rich and famous, try just getting rich and see if that doesn't cover it. Not recommending fame. I don't think any famous people recommend fame.
Yeah. It's like you don't really. Yeah, exactly. You don't necessarily want to be famous.
Well, there's so many different levels of fame, right? There's like the fame of an actor whose face is out there all the time. And then there's the fame of like an author who writes a book who you wouldn't even recognize if you walked next to him, but everybody knows who he is.
True. And there's like cult fame where you find these people back in the past or something. You're like, oh, why didn't no one's talking about these people?
This is what Shakespeare's Othello is about losing ownership of your persona.
What about the alien abduction story, the Betty Hill thing? Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I know they're remaking it. Obama, I'm going to go ahead and produce it. Yeah, Obama is producing this new Betty and Barney Hill production.
Obama's producing conspiracy theories? Isn't this a conspiracy theory?
That's right. It's going to be a Netflix special, I believe.
We're producing. You got to say look before you start talking. Look.
This is a pretty wild story. Nice. So Obama's on Netflix. Yep. He's got a bunch of money. I think the government, what they do, they gave him like $1 billion or some $500 million or $500 million, something crazy like that. And so he's supposed to make all this crazy content for Netflix so the whole world can watch. And one of them is this Betty Barney Hill UFO abduction. What is the deal with the Betty and Barney Hill UFO? Sorry, tell us about that, Doug.
Oh, the Betty and Barney Hill abduction was like one of the first notable UFO abduction stories in the U.S. This wonderful couple was driving down the road. They saw this UFO, felt compelled to kind of follow it with their car. It led them into a field. They parked. The UFO was in the field. And this is where the stories get a little funky, because in reports after they were hypnotized, they each reported that some small beings came out. They were both scared beyond belief. The fear that comes through in the recordings of their reports is palpable. The absolute terror that they both felt. Barney in particular, of just deeply desiring to not leave the car, but being compelled to go into the ship where they do experiments on them, each separately. And then they experience quite a bit of missing time. And I believe they go back either into their car or back into their home. So that is the report that comes after the hypnosis sessions that they go through. That's the one that is talked about the most.
And it's sketchy. It's sketchy. The implanting false memories is it's the real thing.
Yes, because the initial report that I believe Betty gives before being taken under hypnotic regression is that they were dressed in military uniforms.
Wow.
So there
of course, the military, Netflix, Monarch, and the government, Obama, they're making an episode. They're trying to make sure this story is heard, because otherwise it'd be almost forgotten. But people be like, hey, isn't that a thing where the government messed with them? So now they're going to reiterate the story that it was aliens instead of the government.
Just setting up the next fake thing to scare everybody with.
Could it be both? And yes, I agree. They're definitely setting up something to corral the public.
The fake.
Have you heard the story of communion?
Love that
is
story.
That connected? Yeah, so it's connected maybe to that, where it was a positive story of like having
Well,
Best
no.
movie ever.
a
Not a
sexual
positive-
experience.
Not a positive story.
Not
No.
totally positive. There
Whitley
was a lot of
Strieber-
fear involved.
Some people
Yeah.
like it.
Well, Whitley Strieber himself says, "No, I was raped, straight up. They put
Oh.
an anal probe
I had
into my body and milked me basically against my will."
Wait a minute. I heard of an interview where he was saying like there was this unconditional love that came through after that, like this powerful
That doesn't
sense.
sound good.
of-
So in other words, someone forced it to love you. I mean,
Yeah,
you know?
there is.
I don't know
this-
if it was after or
Dr.
before.
Green,
actually.
when they asked MK
It could be
Ultra,
Stockholm syndrome too.
I need to read
they
that
asked
book.
Dr. Green in
It's
the
it's a heavy book. Yeah.
when they were trying to
I
get
just
fu-
listened to an interview.
Gotta watch this movie, man. Have
Great
have
movie.
you guys
Christopher
seen the movie with
Walken,
Christopher
baby.
Walken?
They were
It's
trying
one
to
of
get-
the best
movie.
movies
they were trying to
ever.
get finances though for MK Ultra, like the third row finances, like in 58. They asked Dr. Green and to give some reason or some evidence of what they're benefiting from the program. He said, "Well, whether or not God exists is no longer relevant because I've found the receptors from which He is seen, felt, and heard." So, the idea that something is able to force you to be unconditionally in love with it, that I feel like is the hypnosis of some kind of serpents, really. But okay,
For sure.
the Communion movie with Christopher Walken, amazing.
Can I ask Mr. Douglas to tell us about that
Please.
movie in the voice of Christopher Walken?
In the voice of Christopher Walken. So Whitley Strieber takes his family and some family friends. They go to their cabin in upstate New York. And at night, these beings are hovering and they eventually make their presence known inside the house. They come in and there's this iconic moment where one of the Greys is right behind the door, peering
One of the
ever
best
so
scenes in any movie.
freakily. And Strieber goes, "Is somebody there?" And in fact, there is.
Can we watch one scene from this movie on YouTube?
That's the
when we
best
get in trouble?
impression yet.
Can we
That's the
Honestly,
best
this
impression
is
yet.
was
Thank
better
you.
for
I
me.
love it.
I just
Love
need
it.
this. This is all I need. God, but yeah, what you want to see a scene? What scene are you trying to look
That's
for?
that scene, the alien reveal.
Right
or
there,
whatever.
right there. Bedroom encounter.
Is there an alien sex scene? Because that
Is
would be
somebody
fun.
there? So before you play this, really quick, Whitley Strieber does speak on another sexual experience he had with the.
That's what I was
extraterrestrial.
thinking of. Yeah.
And he does
Okay.
say that it, and
I
there
didn't
is
know.
some tie-in to MK Ultra. In fact, with his entire life, he as a child apparently experienced some trippy shit with MK Ultra, going to some classes, not remembering them until much later. But the second experience he had, there was a female style alien on top of him, copulating with him, and a whole bunch of human beings, one of which he actually recognized, were around just watching. There was nothing he could do, but he does confess that it was probably the most intense sexual experience he has ever had.
Give us some volume, Jamie.
This is how they're gonna get us.
It might get us in
Get us
trouble. Yeah. I don't want to get us in trouble and have it be my fault. Everyone's got to watch this movie though.
This does look pretty great. Oh yeah, get him.
Here we go.
But Doug, Doug. Oh, that's the scene. Yeah. It's the build up to it though, because he's just sitting there like,
baby.
hello. And he's like,
Chills, yeah.
movies move so fast now. This was when movies would take their time. He sits there in a chair, staring at the door, like "hello" for like 2 minutes, and then at
Like
the
you
last
would.
second, the alien looks out, like, and you're like, "Oh no!" It's so scary.
So you
It
heard
only
more
gets
of the-
weirder. It's an awesome movie.
You
So,
heard the
Andreas-
theories. Oh, sorry. Go on, Raf.
Oh, I just like to ask a question, if I may, to the assembled panel in a sense. So I've, been investigating these UFO phenomenons, alien things, factions, and so on for quite a long time. And by now, I seriously have to ask the question: to what extent can we delineate or differentiate and be certain that none or any of these phenomena we observe are not just some type of advanced military technology? And where could we draw the line?
How to
that
get
there is
abducted by
truly
aliens in The Sims
with-
4?
without really defining what it is? But I at least would like to delineate the, let's say, human earth and power structure, and if there really is a separate thing, or if it's all just ultra deep state projects that maybe are fighting each other or
Who's had
something.
Who's
Yeah.
had experiences with extraterrestrials?
I was abducted in The Sims 4. So I was working for
I mean, for
NASA.
real.
I'm just saying, though, this is to Raf's point that they're trying to imprint to kids the idea that this is how it happens. If you get abducted, it's aliens. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah, but for real.
You know,
Have you had an Am I the only one that's experienced? I'm an experiencer. I'm the only experience here.
I feel like Eddie had said he had experiences, but yeah, no, not me. So tell me more.
Oh, okay, well, because it's fascinating because yeah, it's like okay, the dream world, like the MK Ultra thing is all about the dream world, like going to the subconscious mind and everything like that. So when I haven't had any of those, like CIA, I don't know, unless you want to say a movie or something is kind of like a MK Ultra programming, and I fell asleep and I was like, whoa, I'm MK Ultra programmed, and now I have the dream of an extraterrestrial here. But when I had experiences with extraterrestrial, it's not like like a person in a costume with like they put on the TV several times or whatever on Star Trek like that. It's like a higher dimension is coming down. There's an actual it feels more real than this three-dimensional reality. And I want to play Sims 4 now because that was kind of cool, but it feels more real than this reality. It's like it was like right before me. I was on a spaceship somewhere. I died in the like I had the ego death, full physical body death experience, which kind of like sucked and was awesome at the same time. It was like and then one could say, well, maybe you're dreaming, maybe it wasn't real. It wasn't a real thing. And that's perfectly an acceptable perspective. Of course, there's no way I could ever prove that. And that's why all these stories still exist. And I want all your questions.
What if there are extraterrestrials that have hacked into the DMT realm and they abduct people like we'll say like 10,000 trips or something? I think that'd be advanced.
Well, the DMT realm is this realm. It's just that we can't perceive it because the pineal gland is like the gateway into the fourth. I don't know if you've seen those artwork. We have the two eyes, and then the third eye is that which perceives the fourth dimension, basically that which perceives the hyper dimensions. This is all, I could go on and on and on.
Well, would they need to abduct you? Because apparently you can be like, there's people.
It didn't feel like an abduction. Well, it felt like I was there. I like chose to be there. It was trying to like communicate with me, and I was communicating with it by only looking around because I was frozen solid.
So maybe just to refine my question, and thanks for the example, Jaron, to make it very clear, I want to differentiate between what is used as a cover by a government to, like you said, Andreas, make it hip to be abducted or whatever, and use these memes for some nefarious other military purpose. And where can we differentiate between experiences like people say they see a UFO and it's not only moving in a strange way, but they also have a telepathic connection? Okay, is that just the advanced EMF system that this military guy has? And it's like, I'm going to send you unconditional love so you believe in the alien meme, Or where could we draw a line in terms of technology or capabilities? Because some governments are screaming about it. They seem they want to hide it. But then even there could be a compartmentalized power structure where they want to make this struggle for many years, because now they're bringing it all out. And I would just like to everyone have the most differentiated view possible.
Totally forgot Colin Hanks was on Roswell.
Use this in any way, shape, or form they can to gain even more control. And I think now is really the time to understand as much as we can about this, because they're going to try to use it in every way they can to, destabilize or whatever the people more.
All I know is it makes sense that a Zeta Reticuli would be in military suit. That makes perfect sense.
Do you remember that show, Roswell?
Yes, I low-key love that show.
Yeah, it was like the Dawson's Creek for kids who want to get abducted all the time. And I don't forget, what was Colin Hanks in that? Because like,
hold on, Raphael, to your question, really quick before we move forward on discussing beautiful alien pop culture. I do want to just first acquiesce and say it's very difficult to differentiate whether it's deep state government or just advanced human technology from cycles past of advanced civilizations. We don't know what we're actually able to access and utilize. However, it does seem that before our modern era, there had been plenty of reports of civilizations across the globe experiencing what they call sky people of some kind, right, coming down and interacting with them in some way. So I don't know if they're actually sky people. There was a recent discussion I was listening to of the gentleman who created the movie Level With Me, where he was saying that perhaps these extraterrestrials are in fact extraterrestrial, yes, but yes, just from extra land that we are unaware of in our current paradigm.
Beyond
Yes,
Eden.
thank you. The Adam and Eve story eventually ties in this idea that ETs are visiting, but the ETs are in fact advanced humans that have past this level of mortality that we experience. Bob Frizzle actually discusses this in relation to Lemuria and Atlantis, that there were trainings of humans to basically, for lack of a better term, become immortal and pass on knowledge, stay here as pseudo avatars to then train up those that were applicable to this training, available to be able to train up and join these advanced avatars. So, I mean, I think it goes deeper than we could ever know. I think there is absolutely deep state government involvement to try and muddy the waters and utilize technology to their advantage. I think my labs are real. Carla Turner has a lot of great reports discussing people being abducted in some way and taken into some kind of bases where it appears strikingly that some form of alien and human military individuals are working together. Her story is fascinating. She died of an advanced cancer very quickly after starting to go public with this. Her whole family experienced visitations, communions, if you will.
Yeah, and just because, I mean, the thing that also gets me is like the most like Project Camelot or Corey Goode and David Wilcock.
Thank you for letting me speak
the people with the big money.
No, forget David Wilcock. Forget that. Oh, that
you're seeing them.
Yeah.
You're seeing them all the time though, because they
Can't
want you
stand
to
that.
not look into the truth. So they've got some well-produced. This is like the mainstream honeypot show, and
Yes.
you know people can tell. Like I think for the most part.
I
Even
hope
though
so.
I think some people, I know some people watch it just because they think I've asked,
So,
like, that's nonsense,
Andreas,
right?
we
And
spoke
they say,
about
yeah, but it's funny. They're like, because it's entertaining, and some people watch it just because it's entertaining.
Literally,
we spoke about this before, but please bring it up again. The link I posted, Charles Berlitz, just because I find it so interesting that Charles Berlitz, the guy who popularized the Roswell story, he's the grandson of Maximilian Berlitz, who
Right.
invented the immersion method, which one friend of mine suggested could even be used to teach languages for a newly reset region or lands, because through immersion, of course, you learn it in a few weeks. And how can this guy be the first and only guy in the 1850s to make the biggest language school ever? And then, strangely enough, his grandson popularizes the biggest conspiracy story Roswell thing ever. So to me, that just seems, very fishy family, because usually these things seem to be inherited,
I got a conspiracy. There's no way that's a real mustache.
No, that's the real mustache, man.
No, they when they were doing the portrait, he was like, "Please, can you make my mustache 5 times bigger than normal?"
Dude, you can.
There's no
My
way.
dad could grow a mustache like this someday. You'll see, it's possible. It can happen.
It's gravity defying.
I mean,
Wax. You gotta put the wax in.
even. I mean, not to like put a lot of. Like, come on, like, have you seen this right here?
beautiful.
Yeah, but
that is a very
Don't blush.
nice.
Don't blush.
Yeah,
It's nice,
very
but
nice.
I want to see the Maximilian, man. I want
We'll
to
give
see
him
that.
time,
You got to
you
keep
know.
going.
Gravity
Yeah.
defying. Yes.
Prove to
Well-
me you can do that.
Buck Nelson kind of seems interesting to me. 1895 to 1982, American farmer claimed to have been encountered, have an encounter with the unidentified flying object from the planet Venus, and this comes up a lot. The study of Venus, and I thought it was interesting because while the Soviets never were super convinced by the the lunar landing, the idea of the NASA landing on the moon, not a lot of great evidence, etc. Venus, though, the Soviets very strongly impressed upon the world that they have been to Venus.
Oh,
they
yes.
had satellites there that they were able to withstand temperatures made of lead, and they have sounds recorded from microphones and a single picture of Venus. And so, according to the Russians, because of the heritage of the Soviet Union, Venus is property of the Russians, of the Russian Federation. And so Venus itself would be eventually a planet that would become a Russo paradise. What do you think?
Go for it. Go for it. I mean, hey, I'm not going to stop you. If you can do it, do it. Go
Well,
out.
why
Dibs
are
on
they-
Jupiter. I got dibs on Jupiter.
What are they? What are they saying? Like, what is the deal here? So, like, hey,
Biggest one I
for
win.
one thing to
What
point
is the
out,
deal with Russian Venus?
well, if you're pointing out that the moon isn't real, and then the moon landing, you don't believe in it, and then you're saying, but we really did go to Venus. What are they saying? Or what is the? It doesn't sound like the
probe
Soviets
on
declared.
Venus. Venus is ours now. Yes.
Yeah. So what do
Did
they
they
want?
plant a flag though? Because if they didn't plant a flag,
They had a flag, I think, but
Nah,
it melted.
technically Russian.
That's right.
It melted probably, but I think they planted
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
You can't look at it through a telescope. So
but this is
All those
interesting to
guys.
me.
Doesn't count.
The idea that Venus is a thing, like there's so what we've said before, maybe these are other lands, or maybe they're luminaries or something that we're interacting with. But these stories of abduction seem to talk about conscious entities. You lose time, and so maybe it's an out of body experience, and those are associated with these planets or luminaries like Venus. I mean, what is the deal there? Maybe there's some sort of Pleiadian spirits that are connected to these luminaries.
It was just about to mention, like, there was story. We talk about aliens a lot, and we assume it's like Zeta Reticuli or whatever the gray aliens ostensibly are connected to artificial intelligence. Neuralink is kind of interesting because of that. And then there's like humanoids that look beautiful, celestial. They talk about the tall whites, and of course, how many exoplanets have we found so far? And then, of course, what exoplanets are there that we don't know about? And also, what about the idea of different dimensions? Of course, different frequencies of that isn't in the physical reality of the organic carbon, whatever the atomic number is for
Frequency bandwidth, no?
Yes. So, like, is it possible that's what people mean when they're like dreaming and astral projecting or remote viewing, and they see these kinds of extraterrestrials or whatever happens when the NASA shuts off maybe the ET shuts off the NASA cameras. Who knows? I don't know. They have their reasons not to be seen. It affects our evolution. It's just as Star Trek. It's the prime directive and all these things going.
I can't be too. I mean, so this is the thing. All of this, again, we can only experience touch, and we can't experience touch, so it's all empathy. So all of this feels like stuff that AI and computers really are going to play into, because we're using radio telescopes and microscopes to experience things we can't experience. So we're going to start to acknowledge maybe that there's a lot of other things going on. The same way colonialists got to America and were surprised that there were already people here. Like, well, they're not really people because we can't really hear them. I think that's what we're going to start to notice.
Right.
There's so much going on.
But these kinds of things we have to keep in mind have been experienced by humanity since before, obviously, AI. If we talk about the indigenous people, if we talk about the people in Tibetans who are just, the whole culture is a cult philosophy in Tibet. They just sit, and their whole ideology is the other realm. It's not the physical realm. The physical realm is just pure suffering for them. It's just karma, suffering. That's all they think about.
Shambhala 24/7, baby. Yeah.
Mandela's the greatest shit ever.
Who's in the Himalayan mountains right now, kind of sitting still, like the apparent myths where they're just kind of interacting all the time out of body. They're already making contact on behalf of humanity.
Sure.
Trying to ignore the hell that is. So that's kind of funny, because like this is supposed to be heaven on earth, and they're like, well, we have to get through it as quickly as possible to get out of hell.
Yeah. This is hell. We're in hell, of course. That's pretty obvious.
Really?
From one perspective.
Compared to what?
From one perspective.
We're also in heaven, though. I mean, this is the worst we've ever experienced.
I think we're in
best
heaven.
we've ever experienced. All right here, and it's all
I
we've ever
agree.
experienced.
We're in heaven. This feels like heaven. It's blissed out. I love it. I don't know.
Don't you think heaven and hell
like
are like
that
frequencies too that you can like tune into? Like I could go into a hell frequency right now and start daydreaming about being tortured.
I wish I didn't like the Good Place as much as I do, but I do like the Good Place. I can't help it.
Watching horror movies.
Have you seen this? Have you seen this show? Right, about she like gets hit by a cart and goes to heaven, but it's like she's not supposed to be in heaven because she's supposed to be in hell, and you realize that everything is kind of like, it is what you make it at very least.
Well, yeah, no, we can Tibet and you don't have the internet.
You might not ever
to play Sims 4.
Okay, so maybe just to appear somewhat intellectual for a second, have any of you guys read Jean-Paul Sartre's? It's not called L'Enfer c'est les autres, but The Hell is Others or something like this. I'm not sure. So this is what I always think of, where you have this devilish triangle of like a lesbian. She likes the guy likes the girl, and the other whatever. So. And the thing is, they are in hell. It's just like an apartment, but they're stuck together. And the real issue is they don't have eyelids anymore, so they're forced to like interact with each other. Each one has a crush on the one that they don't, So
Jack Black just released a Not Safe for Work video dedicated to peaches. I feel bad about that.
For the Futurama, Hell is Other Robots.
Hell is other
Hell
robots.
is other robot.
Hell is having 1,000 internet tabs open at the same time.
This will be
I swear to God, I'll watch it.
This is the so Popular Mechanics says flying saucers are so 1947. This is the new shape for modern UFOs, and they're these like spheroids.
Orbs. Yes.
Oh no.
Right.
Oh
And-
no.
So I think that's gonna be interesting. We'll start to see the orbs. You guys remember the orb from Heavy Metal?
Man,
Yeah.
I've seen it
No,
a
I
million
need to
times as
see
a
that.
kid, but I don't... Oh yeah.
So the whole thing
Sorry,
about it-
I got trauma from
Of course,
drone
the
bomb
orb, yeah,
footage
yeah.
there. That's why I was saying, oh no.
I feel like the orb is an important thing. Like it's not a saucer, that's a discopter. The orb is a thing. It's this conscious thing that talks to the
Ball
girl, it
lightning.
kills, it lives, it dies. It's got energy, it can't be controlled. So the ring of power. Also orb, Trump. Remember that picture where they all touch the orb? The orb's a
We're
thing,
all
man.
touching the orb. Touch the orb.
Yeah.
There's
I
the,
feel
there's
like-
the heroes, the good guys, everybody.
And that's the globe itself is the orb. So I feel like the orb is we should be expecting more orbs, and that balloon.
Yeah, I told you
the
I've
orb.
seen them in real life 2 times, the orange orbs. That's my only
I've seen
supernatural experience.
I've had an experience with a blue orb in an astral everything was black around me and my body lifted up in like some sort of Egyptian death style
Oh.
tomb. And there was a blue orb that was like super compassionate. It was like, hey, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But that whole experience freaked me out that I feared back into my body, of course.
I was just standing on
That's
my
awesome.
roof in Venice one time, broad daylight, kind of an overcast day, and 2 orange balls just went going overhead, and they didn't have distinct edges, so I couldn't tell how high or low or big or small they were, and they didn't make any sound, and there was no wind. It was the most peaceful day, and they just came and just went, 2 of them. And then the next night I was playing an outdoor show in the valley, and we saw in the distance all of a sudden all these orange orbs disappearing and reappearing and moving all around and stuff. And someone
What do
was
you
like,
think it
that must be
was?
military flares. And I was
Logan
like,
They
Paul
"Oh."
says
dig your
he's got,
music,
like,
bro.
Logan Paul says he's got some of the most compelling UFO footage ever. When asked where he got it, he says, what do you want from me, bro? I'm a sneaky little fuck. That's his explanation. I don't know. I think we're going to get a lot more of these like fake videos from mainstream sources put into the front limelight. That's what I
It's impossible to tell what videos are fake. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, but a lot of people were sharing that the U.S. Capitol is flying the American flag upside down, and I saw
was
some
that
like
fake?
no one knows. Some people said
Yeah.
it's fake, and then the people are like, I'm looking into it, trying to find out, because like I saw people posted who don't post.
I was reporting on it yesterday. I was going to talk about it, but we couldn't tell if it was true or not. So we moved
Exactly.
on.
Yeah. Welcome to the present. You can't tell
So,
if anything's true.
Just to add to the stories, it wasn't me, but a dear friend of mine who has no reason to make this up in any way, shape, or form, with a friend together, experienced a UFO sighting, which apparently went up to, I don't know, 100 feet or 200-300 feet, like really close up. And they were both seeing it, and it seemed to be some kind of flying saucer thing. It's almost unimaginable to even talk about it, but people tell you these stories. And here, this one is interesting because it seems pretty well researched. Was also temporarily banned, I believe, even from Gaia TV. So it seems that they are having some leads that are relevant, and it's basically about these plasma phenomenons that seem to create many of the crop circles, and how you can also differentiate whether something is mechanically made or whether it's through this warmth and analysis that she did with scientists. So that seems to be a real orb type phenomenon that is pretty well researched.
Yeah, and I also have 2 UFO sighting experiences. One where I just saw 3 metallic UFOs just like shift into existence and shift out. If this makes any sense at all, I could see the visual snow of my eyeballs kind of like shift around the UFOs, if that makes any subjective sense. And then once in Sedona, we're going down with this later during one of those Bashar conferences, and she had the Stephen Greer's like ET contact phone things. We went, this is more subjective because we both sat down and we listened to these like ET code things. It was like or whatever, because he apparently meditates and studied with the Tibetans and figured all this stuff out. And we saw a white light flash through, and then I was like, okay, well, that easily could have been a what
here's a UFO over the coronation, right?
Or just depending on how deep the deep state goes, they just gotta log into your app, and if you're on the app, they're gonna send you a nice orb, so everyone gets their
This is interesting. The orb right here above the coronation. So I mean, we're seeing more of them. I feel like orbs is going to be the deal. We'll see some more orbs.
I'm down.
Hooray for orbs!
I'm down for it. Come orbs.
Down.
We love you, orbs.
I got a
Come on,
show with
orbs.
Dr. Longo after this, so I better start introducing where to get people's content. Let me go to Mr. Douglas first, because look at his smile. MrDouglas.com with a 3. He's got some amazing Ingo Swann.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's got the entire series. If you go to Seekers of Power audiobook, he's got volume 1 and volume 2 are out now, and you can listen to them on Audible
going right now.
Dude, so great. And if you have Amazon, it's like you get like a points or whatever, so you get them for free. Like, so I got one, and then the next month I got the second one. So you can, it's super rad because you get included. Often, if you're not using Audible all the time, if you got an Amazon account, you can use your points on this, and then it's great for everybody. Yeah, I love Audible more and more. It's great, and you can really, you got to get on with the Ingo Swann. Great job, Doug.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Pink Trip
is a man with a plan. You're gonna go to pinktrip.com or the YouTube. YouTube Pink Trip, and then you can watch his amazing videos. He has some pretty hilarious videos.
Tim Pool is wrong. Yeah. That's probably true, right?
Joey Diaz craps his pants with Joe Rogan. Bert Kreischer gets bullied by Joe Rogan and Jim Brewer. I mean, these are funny. These are great. Alex Stein reveals his deepest, darkest secrets is a great interview he did. He also has a great interview with Alex Jones. He's 2 with Alex Jones.
Oh, I still haven't watched that second one. I got to watch that.
No, they're amazing and definitely underrated, like underviewed. I think it's rated highly by the people who've seen it, but suppressed. So make sure you get your chance to go look at Pink Trip because it's amazing. Jaron, where should I send it for your link?
Go to jaronfund.com, JARONFUND.
JaronFund.com. That's right, of course.
I got videos, I got blog articles. I Twitch live stream every Saturday.
Watch Twitch.
Come Twitch, follow my Twitch. I do whatever tarot readings. I got services I'm channeling now. I'm doing free readings, whatever you want to. Yeah. If you feel the need to grow in this reality.
That's awesome.
Astral Project, free PC game Path Video on Steam right now. It actually has a lot to do with AI, artificial intelligence, and our previous
Look how sweet this game is, by the way. This is like,
all right.
It should not be free. Look how seriously awesome.
You got Gabe Newell. Yeah, it's super cool. It's super fun.
Serious amount of work went into this. So you're going to check out his games. You're going to look at his books. And also, I hope that we'll get you back soon. So I want to do something with you, Raph, and Jim Kincaid. I think would be like a Team Rabbit Hole moment. We could do some readings and some cards. That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, but follow him on Twitch because I'm trying to get you guys who like the Twitch to follow my favorite Twitchers. And here's a brilliant man right here.
Yeah, I will follow you back. If you follow me, I'll follow you back and watch your stuff.
Act Like You Know 26 is Raphael, and he's got some amazing videos. He's got a lot of great stuff with David Ewing Jr., because no one else has on content that you all care about. If you want to know what is a star for, or what's the deal with Muhammad in the Christian Bible, or what's the deal with Islam, like, because I've heard about it, but is it really what you think it is? Also translated into German, he's got my Xirtus documentary, the Hindsight is 2020. No, it's just called History Revised 2020. History Revised. Right. So watch this if you can speak German, and definitely go ahead and tell people, if you know anyone who speaks German, to watch this video, because if it's in their native tongue.
Telling a fun story. So you see this 1.5K subscribers, and recently I've been to one of the few parties I go to, in like a friend's party, and someone actually goes next to me and like, "Oh, I've met you here before. I congratulate you on your content," because he's like researching Templar stuff and so on, and somehow he found Xirtus. It was like, "Oh, I know this guy," and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like with 1K subscribers, the algorithm already knows whom you met or something, and they shift you someone. I was like, "Whoa!" Because he didn't know I was producing content, right? So yeah, that's how small the world can be. Fractal experience, right?
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And then so VBDC, also go to Seth's store. Make sure you buy his shirt, his fanny pack. I like the Truther fanny pack. I think that's something that we could all use.
I would love it if people would just follow me on Spotify. You can like follow artists and subscribe to my YouTube, because I'm coming forth with a bunch of music videos and a full-length album for this summer real soon. And I'm just in full-on marketing mode for that. So I'm going to be soon. I'm going to be begging people for pre-orders. My last album was the #1 reggae album in the world, ahead of all the big label artists, for just one day on iTunes and everything. So I'm trying to duplicate that experience with the new album. So please follow my music and music videos.
Nice. Yeah, and also, go to his. If you go to the VBDC, go back a page. If you go to the VBDC link tree, you can find his music videos on YouTube, and then you can subscribe to his YouTube panel. And so do that. Make sure you're subscribed to YouTube.
Thank
it's
you.
almost to 1,000. American Time Machine, Kurt, amazing music. Some of my favorite music. I like the most esoteric shit you've ever heard. Bambience is really good. The World is a Person. Check out some of this music. Think while you're listening to it, and definitely reach out to Kurt if you listened to it and you liked it, so that he knows that there's some more people out there that get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you all followed.
Awesome. Very awesome.
I think, did I do it? Is that good? All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
You
Thank
did
you very
it.
much.
Thank
Later,
you,
chat.
Andreas. Fantastic. Thank you. Bye, chat.
I love you guys.
Bye.